What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Meaning of Podcast. I am Ace.
This is RB3.
And this is the podcast where we talk about your favorite directors and the deeper meaning within their films. And this episode, guys, we're going to do it. We had to do it. It just spurred on me in the moment. We're going to be talking about one of the most polarizing directors working in Hollywood today. That is Mr. Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Someone who pretty much everyone has an opinion on him, whether it be positive or negative.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that, and it's going to be a very different episode, I personally feel like it's going to be different.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first episode where we're doing a director who we both kind of don't like, so this is...
I was going to say, to balance things out, because I'm more on the negative side, we have super fan RB3 of Michael Bay.
I'm not a super fan, but I am a fan of a lot of his movies.
Okay.
Like, a lot of them. There's 5 of them or 4 of them that I'm not too big of a...
Yeah, we're going to get into it, and to be honest, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have an interesting conversation with RB3 and I, but to balance things out, we have calling in or us calling him.
Wait. Are you gonna spoil the surprise or?
Should we make it a surprise?
Yeah, let's make it a surprise.
Even though it's probably in the title.
It's probably in the title. Yeah, it's probably in the title. Whatever.
That's why I didn't want to make it a surprise.
Yeah.
It's up to you though. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll save it, guys. You'll see.
We'll save it.
It'll be the first thing we do, so it doesn't even really
Are
matter.
you gonna put it in the title?
I think I was, but I mean, it doesn't matter. All right, fine. We thought it would be good.
I just wasn't sure because if it's in the title, it's not
title.
really a surprise.
Yeah. I thought we could just be like, hey, guess what? We should call in Josh Macuga.
No.
We're calling in Josh Macuga.
Yeah, to balance things out, we're gonna call in Josh Macuga, who's the
Massive
verified
Bad Boys
super
fan,
Bad Boys fan,
Yeah,
who's like probably the biggest flag bearer of Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2.
Oh yeah,
than anyone I've
probably
ever
Bad
met.
Boys 2 more so.
Probably
too,
Bad Boys
he loves
2
Bad
more.
Boys as well.
But either way, we have to balance out the conversation somehow because I'm going to go in, bro. I'm going in on Michael Bay.
Yeah. Well,
Whereas you're probably going to be more like, hey, maybe I can work with him in the future. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, doing entertainment, man. Doing entertainment. I know.
But before we get into all that, guys, we're going to read your comments from last week where we talked about Catherine Bigelow. So we're reading the YouTube comments. Okay. Once again, guys, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, feel free to leave us a comment. If you guys are listening on iTunes, go to YouTube and leave us a comment. I think that'd be nice, right, RB3?
iTunes, YouTube, Podcast One as well. And we will be starting the Meaning of Podcast SoundCloud network really soon. So
there you go, guys. You have all these avenues. But either way, you can still join us on YouTube and leave a comment. It's the best way to connect with us, and we'll probably read it on the show since we only have like 5 comments on last week's episode.
Oh, gosh.
Alan Patrit says, watch Near Dark on VHS in the late 80s. It blew me away.
Yeah. Near Dark is great.
Yeah, I mean, as I said last week, it's difficult to find that movie.
Right, vampires and all that.
Carly Pateau says, Point Break.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carly.
Yeah.
Point Break.
Hopefully not the 2015 one.
Ooh, yeah. I think Mr. Tom has something to say about that movie.
Bobby Gucci.
Jai Prods says, Strange Days is so underrated.
Yes, Strange Days is underrated. And for my first time watching it for last week's episode, I will agree it's underrated.
And Gunslinger199 says, yes, definitely do Sam Raimi. Great and different movies. Yeah. And those are all the comments. No, I definitely want to do Sam Raimi. I talked to you about doing Sam Raimi, but I was just like, that's daunting. Like, it's daunting to do it in like 2 days.
Yeah. If we do a Sam Raimi one, there's a buddy in my fraternity who's like the biggest Sam Raimi fan.
No way.
So yeah, we gotta consider having them on.
I mean, I definitely want to have that door open to have people who are more super fans. That's kind of why we're bringing in Josh Macuga.
Oh yeah,
this was your idea.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, like I said before, I'm gonna really tell you why I don't care for Michael Bay. And I think that's fine. I think it's an interesting conversation to have on a director that you're not necessarily positive on all his works, right? Because I don't think anyone's gonna question Michael Bay's technical ability.
Yeah.
I just feel like when people say, does Michael Bay, that's one of the questions I had in my notes, and that's actually a question that I'm going to start out with. Let's get right into it. What does Michael Bay have to say in his movies? Does he actually have something to say? Does he warrant an episode of The Meaning of? And I think he does, but I want to hear, does he have something to say in his movies?
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a lot to say. I don't know if it's necessarily coherent or if it's like politically correct things that he has to say, but he definitely has things to say, and he definitely brings a certain perspective to every one of his movies. And I think there are some movies, look outside of, the Bad Boys and the Transformers. You look at movies like Pain and Gain or 13 Hours or The Rock to a certain extent. They all do have something underneath that are saying something highly political to a certain extent. I mean, Michael Bay, he's said he's a political dude. So I think that's, I think we're going to see a part. And The Island as well. The Island is another.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. But that's my follow-up. It's like, if he has something to say, what is it? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second of all, do you agree with it? And then I had another question talking about, is it political? Like, does he have something political to say? Whereas a lot of people say, don't put politics in my movie. Don't put politics in my movie. Well, if you're a fan of Michael Bay, tough luck, because he's going to put politics in his movies. Don't you agree?
Right. I mean, he definitely puts politics. I think, if at least in regards to like law enforcement and military, I think that's the highest political realm that like Michael Bay definitely explores. Right. He's very pro-military. He's very pro-law enforcement. He's very pro. He's pro all. He's pro a lot of enforcement, I guess I should say. Yeah, just not just law enforcement, but
almost
authority.
Authoritarian, would you say?
I don't know if he's an authoritarian. I mean, I guess. I mean, you
think about all his movies, man.
Well, some people make the argument that he, portrays a lot of, people of color in a certain kind of way, but that's not necessarily authoritarian. I don't know. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's authoritarian necessarily. I mean, when you look at something like 13 Hours, which you're going to talk about later, that's a movie that's all about the military and none about like White House, Washington politics. You know what I mean? Like, there's no mention of Clinton or Obama.
But would you say it's still a political movie?
I mean, it definitely, as a perspective on politics, I definitely feel like it's the perspective. A lot of times, us as Americans, we get the perspective, the outsider perspective, right? The not the outside perspective, but the perspective from not being on the field, on the battlefront, and not being in those situations. And Michael Bay, I think, as an artist, he's really good at putting you in those situations. I think, particularly in something like 13 Hours. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's different, and I don't know if he's necessarily an authority. I don't know if he's necessarily saying anything authoritarian, or maybe he just loves. I mean, all directors, I feel like, should have some respect for the military, but it's very clear that Michael Bay has a very heavy front, when it comes to that. So,
I mean, to be honest, it's almost an ad for the military. It almost kind of is an ad, right? Because I think it is funded by military groups. I think he has that funding and that sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, I know for the Transformers movies, the Department of Defense actually like lends the equipment and I'm not the equipment, but the tanks and all the stuff all the military stuff that they show. That's actually lended from the government, which is, I don't know if they charge them for that, if that's free or, but they all have a very pro-military message, and I think even for me at least, my favorite Transformers movie, which we're going to talk about later, is actually the first one. I feel like that's the most military based one, because I think he put a lot of care into that too, to a certain extent. So I don't know. I'm maybe I will have to be the defender of Michael Bay today.
I think you probably will be, because that's my follow up to it. Is like, I think one of my biggest problems with Michael Bay is the fact that it's not. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm actually. I told you last time, I'm probably more pro-military than you are. Yeah. But at the same time, it's one of those, like, we're gonna get into 13 Hours. That's one of the reasons why I enjoyed that film. Mm-hmm. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, I mean, it seems like almost every single one of his movies, obviously specifically more the Transformers movies, it's a commercial. This guy's a commercial director. He makes commercials. He makes music videos. Obviously, music videos is something that's probably what he's more. But even that, the music video is still selling you something in a way, right?
Yeah, they're selling you the music.
They're selling you the music. They're selling you the character of the lead singing man or whoever that may be, right? Right. But it feels like, where does the art meet the brand? Where does the art meet the marketing? Where does the target demo meet actually making a movie that says something, and I can say that he fits into a director brand and says he's an actual artist? Does he fit the auteur theory breakdown? of what he is, or is he just a commercial director selling you a product in every single one of his movies, whether the product may be the military or the police force, whatever it may be. I don't know.
Transformers toys.
Or Transformers toys, right? Or it doesn't necessarily have to be the most blatant, like Bud Light thing, which happens in Transformers, because everyone's like, yeah, that. But even like we talked about before, even the military, the police, like I feel like it's so difficult, and I know it's controversial to say that, but it's so difficult. Where can he be an actual artist? Can we say that Michael Bay is an actual artist?
I mean, I think he is. For the fact of, you mentioned auteur. The whole idea of the auteur theory is that you're unique, right? Like you have a voice that is original, right? And I definitely think that Michael Bay, of all directors, almost to a certain extent, is probably the most unique in his style, right? Like he can very clearly delineate what's a Michael Bay movie and what's not a Michael Bay movie.
It's almost a genre within itself, right?
Right, exactly. I know the YouTuber Every Frame of Painting. They did a video called Bayhem, right? And he did a video. Tony, who's Every Frame of Painting, he did a video called Bayhem, right? Which is the whole idea of the Michael Bay subgenre, the Bayhem, right? Which is a style that he derives from coming from music videos, right? He highly stylized, highly contrasted, highly contrast lighting, highly saturated images, very dynamic movement within the camera, within the frame, within the editing. He's very much a director who cares a lot about the way things look and the way things move within the film. That's why his films always feel so high paced, because there's always a dynamic thing to it. And that's not, I think that's to a certain extent, that's artistry in and of itself, right?
Sure.
Like, because when you go back and you study the history of film, a lot of the original film writers and theorists, the whole idea that they had of film is a uniquely original medium, right? And what made film a unique medium is the movement. Because when you have visual movement, at least, right? Like, because when you have something like art, art or a painting or a statue is static, is not moving. You know what I mean? When you have something like music, you hear it. But what's supposed to make film in and of itself different is the fact that there's motion, right? It's continuity, is, you're seeing things moving. He just takes that and cramps it up to 11.
I was gonna say the exact same thing, because I was like, yeah, that's true, but he just takes it and he's like, every other second there's a cut. And I'm like, oh my god, for someone personally, I'm being very personal in this conversation. I adore movies, and I mean adore, like literally my favorite movie of last year, A Ghost Story, is the most static camera movements I've ever. It's so static. Like I love long, lingering takes. Like I adore that. I'm a weird guy who likes that stuff. And when everyone's like, come on, let's go, let's cut. And for me, it's like I love like the camera's just moving this much. So maybe that's why another reason why I don't like Michael Bay's crazy, frantic, over the top editing that he does. Because I really do feel like there is art to slow moving, to pacing, to taking your time to develop a scene with that certain character. I think it gives more opportunity for a character to say something without saying a word. That's just me personally, when the camera moves less or when there's less cutting. That's my take.
Right. I mean, we talked about Michael Bay before in our episode about blockbuster cinema, right? And how his influence. I mean, we talked about J.J. Abrams a couple of weeks. Really, J.J. to a certain extent is almost like a pullback, like Michael Bay. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the hyperkinetic style, right? In terms of the high saturation, the fast movement in the camera, he restrains it a lot more than I feel like Michael Bay does. But that's also cut from the same milk. Zack Snyder, another director who we covered, both Zack Snyder and Michael Bay actually went to the same college too, and they're both very highly stylized voices. And I think Michael Bay is a big contributor to that. I mean, I think without Michael Bay, we wouldn't see people like Zack Snyder. We wouldn't see people like J.J. Abrams.
I was gonna make that comparison, but I was gonna counter it with some points that make JJ look better than Michael Bay.
Right. No, I mean, no doubt J.J. Abrams is the better director.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I think that's when it gets to story and to plot and to characters.
Yeah.
Is when Michael Bay takes a giant nosedive. Because when it comes to visuals and when it comes to technicality, I feel like there's very few people who can compete with him. right? I mean, he's good at what he does visually.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else for me just goes super downhill, and even the visuals for me are kind of frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say because I mean the framing too. His framing is very specific, and it's telling you something, even when the dialogue isn't telling you something. I was gonna say it later, but I'm probably gonna mention this series quite a bit, but I highly recommend everyone who's listening check out the Lindsay Ellis Michael Bay analysis that she does. She does like a 10 video breakdown on Transformers movies and Michael Bay, because it's not just Transformers, but it's also what Michael Bay is saying throughout his movies. And she breaks down different theories that he tackles in every single one of them. And it's a very interesting point because it answers my first question. Does he have something to say? The answer is yes. Now, everything that he's saying is kind of crazy. And it's very, very like, it's incredibly interesting what those videos do. And I highly recommend everyone watches them. But one of them for me was the fact that he tells you something, but with the camera, he's kind of telling you to ignore everything that he just told you as far as the characters go. And she talks about that a lot with the first Transformers and Michaela's character, Megan Fox, because she famously left. She famously didn't want to do it.
After the first two.
Yeah, like she did the first two, and then she was like, I'm out. I'm not doing this one again. So there's definitely a lot to get into. And we had a conversation beforehand talking about what's his first movie, because we're all like, I don't know, what's his first movie? I thought you knew.
Yeah.
And I think it's Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2.
Yeah, Bad Boys. I think there's movies in between Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2. But
so he did a lot of music videos. If you go on his IMDb page like we are right now, his IMDb page is filled with music videos, video short on a variety of different artists. Yeah. Genres, obviously one specific, like usually type of genre.
There's rock music.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of Meatloaf. Shout out to Meatloaf.
Yeah. Shout out to Meatloaf. And that's funny. Again, we talk about these directors and how it all kind of comes back, right? Like David Fincher, our very first episode.
That's true.
Not our very first. He wasn't our very first, was he?
No, it wasn't.
Denis Villeneuve was.
Yeah. No, it was Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah. Fincher, one of our first episodes. Also a dude who came from music videos,
True.
right?
A lot of people have.
Yeah. Spike Jonze as well.
Jones.
And a lot of people from the 90s era.
Because music videos are a very good indicator of at least...
Right. And you talk about commerciality, that's exactly what they are. They're made to sell. And if you're a director who knows how to sell, and also the whole thing of music videos is the ability they're like short films, right? Like you could tell a story within 3 to 4 minutes. And you show, and somebody like Michael Bay, if you have a lot of those examples where you tell a great visual story, because music videos is no dialogue. Most of the time is no dialogue. It's mostly just the visuals that you're relying off. So somebody who could tell an efficient story in 3 minutes, with a highly stylized visual sensibility, it only makes sense that he became the director that he became. So
absolutely, yeah. I mean, all credit to music video directors. To be honest, I've thought about diving into that field.
Oh yeah. I mean,
because I think I'd be all right at it.
Hey,
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Hey, let's go, Ace. Doing entertainment. If you're watching this, go ahead and get Ace.
But it's got to be all Victoria's Secret models. Otherwise, I can't do it. It's got to be Victoria's Secret models.
Yeah, hey,
I'm just kidding.
Victoria's Secret's called, man.
Yeah, because that's Michael Bay. That's the Michael Bay way. I had some other questions lined up for you, Mr. RB3.
Yeah, sure.
And one of them kind of ties into the first movies we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But how does Michael Bay view minorities?
Yeah,
because that's one of my biggest gripes with Michael Bay is not necessarily the word racism, but the word stereotype.
Yeah,
the word
stereotype is the word I think you described Michael Bay as.
Yeah.
And no, listen, the Bad Boys movies are great representations for like African American actors and stuff like that. So
is it a great representation for Latinos? Latin American people, Spanish speaking people.
That's Michael. A lot of Michael Bay movies do have some problematic, things about most minorities, really most minorities, honestly, if not all minorities, but. Yeah, there's not a lot of favorable portrayal of Latinos and Latin people in general. he like I said, he Bad Boys is a prominent black franchise, so like I'm not gonna like shit on that really all that much because I think they're also fun movies, right? That black people also enjoy,
Sure.
But it's all different, and I will say too, I also will applaud Michael Bay because I mentioned before there's the whole early 2000s, mid 2000s era of black action movies that were set in Miami. He kicked that off with Bad Boys, so salute to him for that.
Dude, Miami in the 90s though.
Yeah,
that place was crazy. It's still crazy now.
It's crazy.
Like, if you go to South Beach, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to Miami, but I'm sure it's crazy.
Yeah, I've been once, and it's crazy.
Really? For sure.
It's insane, and it's all Latino people too, and obviously a ton of black people too.
Right.
There's like barely any white. No, there's a ton of white people. Let's do it, man. Let's get in the mastermind, the super fan.
Yeah.
I say let's do it.
Let's call up our boy Josh Macuga. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, you know that Macuga is one of the biggest.
And we'll pull him in. It'll be Bad Boys 1 and 2, just so we can have a full conversation on this franchise, if it is a franchise. Mm-hmm. And I have some questions lined up for Mr. Macuga.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously you too.
Okay, all right. Let's see here. See if I can put this on speaker. All right, so we are calling Josh Macuga. Hello, Josh Macuga.
What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, brother? You are here live on the Meaning Of podcast with myself and Ace right now. How you doing, brother?
Hey, good. Josh, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? I miss hanging out with you guys on the live show. I mean, I feel like all I get to do is see friends on podcasts now.
Oh man, it's the same here, man. We really miss you, and we had good times for sure. Yeah, I know now you're busy running your campaign for Josh Macuga for Jeopardy, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, just one day at a time.
Hey, we're full supporters of that, and we're right behind you.
Absolutely, we're gonna retweet every single Macuga for if we get in touch with the Jeopardy executives,
I
think RB3 probably can do that.
I don't know if that's possible.
I feel like if there's anybody, it's you guys. You got the connections. I mean, if you can make some calls, I'm in.
Let's make some calls, Ace.
So Josh, I had the idea of doing Michael Bay, and RB3 immediately was like, "Oh, we got to get Josh in to talk about Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2."
Yeah. I appreciate you guys thinking of me on this one because most of the episodes you guys are talking about directors, I'm like, what's he done? But now, you guys got me. You got right in my wheelhouse with Michael Bay. Lens flares, everything. Give it all.
What's crazy, man, is that we're kind of figuring out right now that Bad Boys 1995 is his first movie he ever did.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, because that's a really good directorial debut.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I always talk because Bad Boys 2, I prefer over Bad Boys 1. But
sure.
That is not taking anything away from the first Bad Boys because it was, it was right in that time when we were sort of in like an action movie place where everybody was like searching for something, right? They were like, we had the Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker with Rush Hour like right around that time.
Rush Hour, yep.
They wanted that duo, because if you look at action movies before, it was always one guy. So you had like Die Hard, one guy. You had Rambo, one guy. You had, that kind of stuff. And then they started getting these like comedic duos in action movies, and the formula was just working. And then bringing Will Smith and Martin Lawrence together, you're just striking gold immediately.
Yeah, here's my follow-up to you. I mean, we talked about Point Break last week. Point Break's another kind of two guys, and then what's the one with Mel Gibson? What's
Lethal Weapon?
Lethal Weapon, right?
Lethal Weapon, yeah.
So here's a movie with two black leads kind of taking that role. That's a big move too.
Dude, I mean, at that time too, Will Smith wasn't far away from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't exactly a movie star yet. Of course, he was a star, but he wasn't a movie star yet. He wasn't the Will Smith we know now. And Martin Lawrence had just basically finished shooting Martin, the show.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, but you get those two guys together. I mean, the thing is what's weird is alone. Like if you put those two guys alone, I don't think you could see Martin Lawrence as an action hero, right? He's kind of obvious. I mean, you would see Will Smith as an action hero, whatever later. But you put both those two guys, for whatever reason, they are so believable as cops, and believable as like action heroes. You know?
Right. No, and it's the perfect match because you kind of have Martin Lawrence. It's kind of playing the straight man. But then like Will Smith is off on he's kind of the more drawn back. They're both playing off of each other's like strengths and weaknesses to a certain extent.
I mean, Martin Lawrence is a married man. You know what I mean? As the kind of like in the first Bad Boys, he's just he is. He's like the straight man. He's the nerd. He's the dork kind of situation. And Mike Lowry. I mean, let's be honest. First of all, to answer your phone, "This is Lowry, you hot," is the greatest way anybody's ever answered a phone in the history of movies. I don't think there's an argument as to any other way to answer a phone other than "This is Lowry, you hot." I mean, I was answering my college cell phone, my first cell phone, when my brother would call, like, "This is Lowry, you hot." I mean, I loved Will Smith's character. I love Will Smith's character in the Bad Boys movie. I mean, he's perfect. He's perfect.
Yeah, and this is before, I believe it's before Independence Day, so this is kind of what launched him into stardom.
Yeah. I mean, in Bad Boys, right, there are two, I think in Bad Boys 2, there's, obviously they ramped up the action, right? But in Bad Boys, they have that fight in the club bathroom, and it's basically Martin Lawrence in that fight. That is one of the best fight scenes in an action movie you will see from a guy that isn't like a martial artist. He's not, the dudes in the raid or anything like that. He's not Jackie Chan. That is legitimately just a sick fight sequence in a club bathroom. It's awesome.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree. And I think there's a lot of great action movies, great action sequences in the first one, which is actually a little bit of a darker movie than a lot of people give it credit for.
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing I think is with the stereotypes that they do, they really work. I mean, Pantaleone as the chief, Joey Pants as captain. He's he plays that yelling captain just like in Last Action Hero. He plays it so well, but he also plays it super believable. But also in the first Bad Boys, you're dealing with like kidnapping, murder, rape, theft. I mean, all of that. I mean, it's a gritty action movie. There are very funny parts, but it's pretty much a gritty action movie. When you get to Bad Boys 2, you're looking at like everything. It's basically a comedy. I mean, it's a comedy.
It is, yeah.
There's like 9 action sequences in that movie that were the budget of every independent movie in 2017. It's like, I mean, Dan Marino makes a cameo. It's just amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
Before we move on to Bad Boys 2, I want to talk a little bit more about the first one. Now, what is it about the first one that stands out to you in this world of like buddy cop comedy type movies?
So, the fact that there's almost like a trading places aspect to it is kind of a genius thing that Marcus is playing Mike Lowry with Tia Leone, who doesn't get it. I mean, Tia Leone, kind of a really good actress. She's been in some pretty good movies. And she plays that like, I don't, what would you call her? Is she a prostitute in that movie? Or is she just like a high-end call girl? Or is she nothing? Was she just like a friend of a call girl? Because her friend got murdered by the drug dealers at the beginning.
Right.
And then she's under witness protection, but Marcus is living at Mike Lowry's apartment to watch him because they got like the old switcheroo, right? Mm-hmm. But the villain in that movie, I think, is, I think because it had that mid-90s grit, as opposed to like, as we got later in the 90s and the early 2000s, it became more of like a Fast and the Furious kind of, like theme, right? Where it was more flashy and everything. Whereas the first Bad Boys is, that's a gritty action movie. It's really well done. And it's, Michael Bay was actually writing good dialogue back then. I mean, he was directing good spoken word stuff. he started losing that later on.
Yeah, I mean, my thing too is we talked a little bit about Miami and the settings of the first two films. What's your take on how it basically shows you what Miami is during the 90s?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that Miami as a backdrop is usually stereotypically just like either in a Cuban movie or it's every time you do a Miami set movie, it's always going to be based around drugs, and that's kind of the drug capital, 80s and then into the 90s. But having Miami as a backdrop in that movie makes total sense because that movie's kind of extra, and Miami is kind of super extra. So the flair of the city mixed with the flair of Bad Boys just works. Like that whole. Miami, when you think of Miami, you just think of neon colors. When you think of Bad Boys, it's like a neon movie. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's the high saturation levels of Michael Bay that everyone knows for. This kind of, obviously the first movie started it, right?
Yeah. Okay. What do you guys prefer, Bad Boys to Bad Boys 2?
I prefer Bad Boys 2, personally.
I prefer Bad Boys, man. I'm on the Bad Boys train. And we're going to get into why.
Listen, there's no wrong answer there, okay? Because they're both feats of cinematic perfection, okay? But because my brother and I love Bad Boys 2. I mean, that's our thing. But when we were in 95, I mean, you guys are so much younger than me, but 95, I was 12, and my brother was 14. So we were in those formative years, right? Where a movie like Bad Boys formed how we behave, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but we were he was Marcus and I was Mike Lowry, and that was us. We loved Bad Boys. We talk about it all the time. I mean, the Bad Boys slogan is engraved on my wedding ring.
Bad Boys for life, right?
I was gonna say the fact that you're using the word extra also informed me how your wife is influencing you now.
Yeah, especially Sinead DeFries and my wife say extra. I'm like, I guess I should say it. I don't know. Trying to be hip, Ace, RB3?
I love it, man. I think it's great.
But yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours about Bad Boys. You know what Bad Boys has and Bad Boys 2 has that a lot of action movies don't have anymore? And maybe The Rock does it sometimes, but you have quotable movies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those movies are quotable. Die Hard is quotable. A lot of those, Rush Hour are quotable. A lot of these movies now aren't as quotable, and I think we've lost a lot of dialogue. Like I said, we've lost a lot of that awesome dialogue in place of, let's just destroy New York then. Let's just destroy San Francisco again and have The Rock put it back together, right? There's not that quotability factor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's to get into hip hop terms, it's the punchline rapper versus the more lyrical rapper type thing.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get into Bad Boys 2, man. Now, this would you say this is your favorite movie of all time?
Okay. Yes.
Yay! All right.
But in a way of so it's hard to. I mean, as you guys know, it's basically impossible to say what your favorite movie is all time. But I'm never not in the mood. If I see it on TV, I'm never not in the mood to stop on that channel and watch Bad Boys 2 until it's over, if I have the time, or just scenes or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
For instance, about a month ago, I'm laying in bed. It's late at night. I don't usually go to sleep till kind of late. My wife goes to sleep earlier. So I turn and I see Bad Boys 2 is on. I'm like, yes. And it was just the beginning. So I'm like, the whole movie, here we go. And I turn it on and I turn up the volume just a little bit. And she is not even watching TV, and she rolls over and she's like, turn down Bad Boys. She's seen me watch it so many times that she just hears that opening score soundtrack kind of thing and knows immediately that it's Bad Boys 2 and doesn't even have to really look at the television. I mean, that's that. But if we're looking at, if I look at movies, and I've said it on Schmoes, I think we've talked about it before, I look at movies in terms of why I like them as rewatchability factor, right?
Right.
Do I think that Saving Private Ryan is an amazing movie? Sure. But can I rewatch it? No. It's a really hard movie to rewatch over and over again because you kind of have to see it from the beginning, whatever. Something like Shawshank Redemption, I can watch that movie anytime from whatever point of the movie, and I love that movie. Same goes for Braveheart. I can watch that movie from any point in the movie. It doesn't matter. I'm always going to stop on it. It doesn't take away from the fact that, and I know comparing Bad Boys 2 in the same breath as Shawshank Redemption and Braveheart is silly, but when I think of movies that I love and rewatchability factor, I mean, if it's just the month of December, I watch Die Hard every other night. I mean, I watch it so much.
I think that's a big part of movie fandom that isn't appreciated enough is the rewatchability.
Yeah. I mean, do I think that Requiem for a Dream is an amazing movie? Absolutely. Can I ever watch that movie again? Never. I will never watch that movie again.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one for sure.
I mean, again, beautiful cinema, but for Bad Boys 2, it's so quotable, it's so silly at points, but then you kind of are like, could this happen? I mean, could these guys take down a drug kingpin in a 2-hour movie? It's so. You know what? The Bad Boys 2, there are an F ton of plot holes in that movie.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, it's so good that I just look past the plot hole. I mean, they basically destroy Cuba. I mean, they destroy the entire country basically, and nothing ever happens. They get to Guantanamo Bay, they kill the guy, and then the movie just ends. They're back in Miami and everything's fine. They basically created like an international terrorist incident, and nothing happened. But I don't care because it's so good. It's so good.
Well, here's my thing, man. I gotta be honest. You said 2-hour movie. This movie is long. This movie's 2.5 hours.
Okay. I mean,
this movie,
the third act in Cuba, that's like a 35-minute act.
Yeah, because I rewatched this one, and this one said 2:32, and I was like, oh man, I forgot how long this movie is. It's so long.
It's epic.
Yeah, it is long. It is an epic movie. I mean, that car chase scene on the causeway in Miami where they're dumping cars and boats and
best car chase of all time.
It's honestly, that car chase still holds up. It's one of the best car chases I've ever seen. It's because what makes it good is you feel the cars hitting each other. You don't feel like it's CGI. You know that's a real car and that's really flipping over.
Yeah. It's I think it's basically that car chase in Bad Boys 2, and the car chase in The Rock is actually really underrated as well. I mean, with the Hummer and Nicolas Cage in his Ferrari.
Through the hills of San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. But that car chase, I think, and I may misspoke here, but I think at the time when they shot that car chase, it was the most expensive scene in movie history.
I can believe it. I can definitely believe it.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't CGI in that thing like the prequels. I mean, that was like, I'm pretty sure that just all happened. They just exploded like 150 cars. But, that's Michael Bay going full tilt, being like, all right, how much do I have in my budget? All right, $150 million. Cool. I'm using $149.5 on the car chase, and then the rest of it on the rest of, writing the movie. And they're like, all right, that sounds good. Okay, can we explode a mansion on the Cuban coast? Cool, let's do that. Awesome. Okay. What else can we get in here? What else you guys got in there? They're like, I don't know. Can we go to Guantanamo Bay? Can we build a Guantanamo Bay outside L.A., I guess? Should we do that? I mean, this movie is just really incredible. It does hold up. It does hold up.
It does, yeah. Here's my follow-up to you, though. I personally feel one of the biggest gripes of Michael Bay, and probably my biggest gripe with Michael Bay as a director as a whole, is his humor. Now, this is one of the exceptions of that rule, right? How do you feel like I guess the question is, what happened to Michael Bay?
No, that's what I'm saying, man. I think that Michael Bay, as he got... Okay, this is like a terrible comparison, but let's just say you're a rock star and you have some #1 hits, but then you signed a contract and you have to make 6 more albums, and you just go into the studio and record the album in a week and it's all crap, but you had to do the album. I think that a lot of times Michael Bay has just taken shortcuts instead of trying to recreate that magic from Bad Boys or Bad Boys 2. Because you're right, a lot of times when he's writing, if he's writing, Latin, or if he's writing black characters, or if he's writing black characters into white movies, he's kind of offensive sometimes. He's definitely terrible at writing female dialogue. I mean, we all know that. But for some reason, I think because you got Martin Lawrence and Will Smith together, who are genius actors, comedians, whatever. They were able to kind of take his dialogue to another level, and that's something that a lot of actors can't do. That's why writers are so important.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think, and I think that's, me and Ace were kind of talking about that a little bit before. And I think that's ultimately where I fall in the Bad Boys franchise. I think that, a lot of times Michael Bay isn't like politically correct or isn't, the best, like, with stereotypes. But I think this movie, the stereotypes, like you said, it kind of adds to it to a certain extent, but it's not it's not overbearing. You know what I mean? Like they still feel like real characters.
For sure. And that's the fun part. I mean, I don't think police work looks like Bad Boys. I don't think that cops in Miami are doing Bad Boys type stuff all the time. Right. But he directed it and wrote it so much so that I'm like, maybe they do that. We went to Miami for the Orange Bowl in 2006, and the entire time, Ben and I just quoted Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2. The entire time. It got to the point where we were annoying everybody, but we'd see a cop and be like, you guys like Bad Boys? And they're like, get out of here. Don't talk to us. But yeah, there is really something kind of just organically awesome about the whole Bad Boys franchise.
Yeah, I was talking to RB3 beforehand. He just mentioned it. The fact that, that's one of Michael Bay's biggest criticisms is the fact that every character that's not white is kind of a stereotype. We see that in the Transformers movies, and we even see that a little bit in the Bad Boys movies, because RB3 was saying, he's like, hey man, it makes black people look good, and I was like, does it make Latin people look good? I don't know.
I guess you kind of have to pick your battles. Like, I don't know if you can make everybody look good. Like, I'm with you though, Ace. Does it? I don't. Does Goodfellas make Italian people look good? No. But
that's a good point.
But yeah, I'm with you on that. This is going to sound kind of dark, but I've always been surprised that in all of this Me Too movement, with everybody kind of exposing sexual harassment, that Michael Bay was never accused of something in this whole thing.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, same. He seems like the kind of... what's funny, Josh, is I have his IMDb pulled up, and when I look up Bad Boys, the first picture of Michael Bay is him with a jean jacket and no shirt on and a camera in his hand. This is real.
That is a look.
Yeah, I'm going to show RB3 right now.
Yeah. Did you see that Robot Chicken where Michael Bay goes into like the executive's office and he like throws his... I don't know, it's so good.
Okay, I got to look that up.
Yeah, Michael Bay Robot Chicken is an amazing sketch.
Okay.
But no, that's interesting because I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that, for Transformers at least, they had Megan Fox audition by like washing Michael Bay's car. I don't know, is that...
That sounds, that sounds casting couchish.
I don't know.
That's brutal.
Yeah, I just don't, but hey, listen, if he's clear of all that stuff, more power to him, man. Because that's
weird. What's funny is, so when I first moved to LA, I was bartending at this hotel bar, and he would come in, and he's awesome. He tipped well. He spent a lot of money. He was a good dude, and he probably came in like 4 or 5 times in the time that I worked at this bar. And the last time that he came in, I was like, I've seen him so many times. I feel like he knows me. I'm just going to say something to him. And so I went up to him and I said, I'm just a huge Bad Boys fan. And he was like, great. And then he just like went back to talking to somebody. I was like, Park. I was like, man, I blew it. I went too fanboy.
That's my thing, Josh. It's like, have you heard, because I've heard the horror stories of Michael Bay on set. The guy's insane. My buddy was a PA on Transformers. I think the second one, just for a short time, for like 2 days, and he was like, "Dude, Michael Bay is insane. All he does is scream at people and like just completely destroy them." So
it's like I've heard. The horror stories I've heard from most is Michael Bay is bad and David O. Russell is bad, but.
I've heard about David O. Russell.
David O. Russell, yeah, for sure.
He's a crazy person, but I think so is Michael Bay to a certain extent. But I was kind of heartbroken. It's kind of like when you see a famous athlete for the first time you like forever, and you're just like, "Hey, I'm a big fan." Like, thanks, and they keep walking. They're not even, They've been approached so many times, and I don't know if Michael Bay thought that I was making fun of Bad Boys, but I kind of want to be like, no, for real, like it's my favorite movie. But I'm also an adult, and do you want another drink? All right, cool. All right, I'll be over later.
Yeah, you could have at least had a drink with you, at least. Like, dang.
Yeah, right, right.
That's cold.
What are you gonna do?
Never meet your heroes.
Josh, what are your thoughts on Michael Bay's other movies?
You know, again, I feel like he makes money, right? So you can't hate the guy because I think he's kind of figured out the whole, the algorithm, if you will, of making money in movies, obviously international, whatever. But I don't think that there's a Michael Bay movie that I'm like, oh, that was just trash. Like, I know what I'm getting myself into in a Transformers movie. I know that it's not going to be, it's robots. Okay. The franchise, we can't beat those robots. They are giants. They are, the only way, humans can't beat those robots. Every time they would show a trailer, I was like, we're never going to beat these robots. And then somehow we beat them. So I know that I have a suspension of belief that we're fighting giant robots from outer space. Okay? I mean, if you pitched that in a room before there was actually a toy, and you went to a room and be like, hey, I have a picture of a movie where these robots come from outer space, and one's called Optimus Prime, but he's also a car, and he talks, and everybody's like, what? Are you on drugs? We're not going to make this movie. But then they made 4 of them. So, I can't say that I would ever be like, oh, here we go. Because they're entertaining. It's entertainment, man. Listen, I like classic rock and yacht rock. Just like, I feel like my music taste is ended when Dr. Dre released Chronic 2001. I was like, this doesn't get any better. I don't think my musical life will get any better. So I'm just going to like all the music from before then. So any music that came out in the 90s, whether it was hip-hop or rock, I loved. 80s, 70s, all that stuff. Anything modern, I'm like, I don't know. Dr. Dre, Chronic 2001. But Michael Bay, in that sense, is like, I don't think he's done something to, like, offend me, you know?
Right.
All of his movies have entertained me. Armageddon? I mean, come on.
Armageddon's great.
Armageddon. Did he do? Yeah, he did The Rock. I mean, The Rock is, Christ. I mean, the guy's got #1 hits for days.
Right. I saw you did a Twitter poll earlier this week with the top you have made you were talking about The Rock. Is it a top 10 action movie?
Yes.
And I mean, you obviously love The Rock too, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, dude, The Rock is almost perfect, if you ask me. But that's Nicolas Cage at his pinnacle, and he's acting alongside Sean Connery. Sean Connery may be the worst actor of all time, and this dude, I mean, for some reason in The Rock, you're like, I believe this. Yeah. I think he's doing it. Besides Sean Connery in Last Crusade and The Rock, I don't think I've ever seen him in a movie. I'm like, what? What's this?
Not even the old James Bonds?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's not hard to act like James Bond. You have to be super good looking and, like, deliver lines to a camera. I mean,
you're breaking my heart, Josh. I'm a massive James Bond fan, man.
No, so am I. I love the James Bond movies. But you don't have to be an amazing actor to be James Bond. You have to be really attractive and really charming. Come on. Is Pierce Brosnan the world's greatest actor? No. Is he super handsome? Oh, yes. That dude is gorgeous. Same with, I mean, look at all the Bonds. They're all super good looking, and they just, like, comb their hair perfectly. They save the world, and they go back to banging chicks whenever they want. It's a really easy franchise to do, and it's amazing. Same as, sorry if I'm offending you here, Ace, but what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm definitely not. That's like, exactly what it is. Like every single movie is pretty much, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
But just like James Bond, absolutely not. It's an awesome franchise, and I hope they give it to Idris Elba because John Luther may be one of the greatest TV characters of all time, and it's a shame. Yeah.
Yes, I remember because we talked about this like early back when I first started with Schmoes. I think Luther is one of my favorite shows ever.
It's so good. But I mean, look at Michael Bay's. If you look at his IMDb director, right? He goes Bad Boys, The Rock, Armageddon. Then he kind of. I know a lot of people didn't like Pearl Harbor. I got to tell you, like without the love story, Pearl Harbor wasn't a bad movie. And then, Bad Boys 2.
Right.
The Island, kind of an underrated movie.
I just watched that today.
It's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Then Transformers, that summer of 2007 when Transformers came out, that was everybody was talking about Transformers and how it was like, oh my god, can you believe that Transformers is doing so well? And I was like, no, I mean, I wouldn't think that Robots from Outer Space would work, but, Bernie Mac was pretty good in it. Anyway, and then you have like two Transformers movies that are like, they are brutal. It's the same thing. They're robots battling giant robots. It's the same movie again and again. There's wrong? And then Pain and Gain gets a bad rap. I like that movie. Look, 13 hours? 13 hours was fantastic.
I'm with you on 13 hours.
But,
I like 13 hours.
If you look at his first three movies, Bad Boys, The Rock, Armageddon, I mean, that's like Michael Jackson Thriller right there when you're looking at singles. I mean, just number one, not even a thought.
Yeah, those are all money movies. Yeah.
Jeez, I mean, I'm so glad we called you, man, because I was tearing apart Michael Bay before we called you. I was just destroying him, and then we're like, we got to balance things out. We got to call in someone who actually likes some Michael Bay movies.
You guys know me. I'm popcorn. I'm just give me explosions and funny dialogue with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and I am.
Yeah, and he's the ultimate popcorn director for sure.
Yeah, the fact that they kept the last 2 years are like, oh, they're going to get so and so to direct Bad Boys, so and so to direct Bad Boys. I'm thinking to myself, why in the world isn't Michael Bay direct? Why would they do anybody else? Why would they even think about it?
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
It's really upset. I even remember like when they announced the third one, because I think they announced the guy who's the guy I don't know. Joe Conahan. Yeah.
And then
which
he dropped out.
Oh, he dropped out?
Yeah. That's my follow up, Josh. Is this movie gonna happen? Bad Boys 3?
I mean, I don't think so. I think it's becoming the thing of like, will the band ever get back together? You know what I mean? It seems like it's impossible that this is going to happen. Look, Bad Boys 4 announced. It's Bad Boys for Life announced, but there's nothing. It's not even in pre-production. Nothing. I'm looking at Will Smith's IMDb right now. It just says announced. You can announce whatever you want. Hey, I'm announcing that I like hot dogs. I announced it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be in a movie called The Hot Dog 3. It's just, they announced it. I don't, for whatever reason, Michael Bay doesn't want to direct this, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think he wants to direct it, and I don't know if Will Smith wants to be back. I mean, I'm sure Martin Lawrence is like
he just sitting on
chomping
the
at the bit.
Yeah,
he's so excited.
He's just hanging out at the Comedy Store on Thursday nights. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but he's definitely not acting in anything. I mean, it's shocking to me with all the TV content out there. I mean, Netflix is giving a series to everybody at this point. How is Martin, like a reunion of Martin, not happening?
Ooh, that'd be high. I grew up on Martin and Fresh Prince. So, when you made that, I guess I never made that connection. But, yeah, that is coming off of both of their TV shows and both pretty popular TV shows at the time.
I dated a girl in college named Gina, simply so I could just say, damn, Gina, when she would come in the room. I swear to God, she was fine. She wasn't like the love of my life, but I think I fell in love with her because her name was Gina. And my brother, as soon as I started dating her, was like, damn, Gina. I was like, I know. That's the whole reason I'm here. It's just so I can say, damn, Gina. But yeah.
Yeah. Josh, thank you so much for
thank you.
accepting this. When RB3 told me to ask you, I was like, Josh is busy, man. Josh is important. We can't get someone that big on the show. But sure enough, you received our call.
If you guys talk Bad Boys 2, it's like every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wing. Every time I hear somebody talking about Bad Boys 2, I will gladly tune in.
Thank you so much, Josh. We appreciate it.
You got it, boys. See you soon.
All right, see you.
See you, man.
All right. Awesome. Perfect. Yeah,
Great.
we have had Josh Macuga. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for Mr. Macuga. I'm gonna add in the clap sound effects.
That's perfect, man.
Yeah.
Now, before we continue, something that we almost forgot to do, but obviously we wanted to talk to Josh first, is what's your first time? What is your first encounter with Mr.
First-
Michael Bay?
First encounter with Michael Bay.
And I like that little graphic that you just put up. That thing's dope.
First time, you know what I mean? So first time, so for first time for Michael Bay for me, it might have honestly been Bad Boys 2. Just because I watched that movie a lot when I was a kid.
No Pearl Harbor, man?
Pearl Harbor, no. But we did watch that in history class when I was in middle school. And in high school. I watched that movie twice in 2 history classes. Like, I don't know why. There's no real. I mean, this of course is a historical event, but it's not like a real story. I don't know why they weren't showing us Saving Private Ryan, but we're watching Pearl Harbor. But yeah, no. For me, first time was Bad Boys 2. Like I said, I like that movie a whole lot. And
Was that in theaters?
No, it wasn't in theaters. It was on home video. But first Michael Bay movie I saw in theaters. Of course, was the first Transformers movie.
Dude, you're so young,
that
man.
was-
I know I
yeah.
tell you every week, but it somehow upsets my stomach.
No, I remember
Every time.
seeing Transformers opening weekend. I think it was me and my boy Ryan Baptiste, and we went and saw. I went to see that movie, so it was a dope time.
So my first time,
First
we
time
were. It's 1998, I believe. And that is Armageddon.
Armageddon, really? Okay.
Now Armageddon, it's a funny story because I was living in Colombia in '98 with my mom and my brother, and we went to a drive-in theater, and it had the subtitles, the Spanish subtitles, in the drive-in theater. And I remember that everyone was Armageddon was huge, it was big. It was a big deal, and I remember watching that movie, and there were certain times where my mom had to turn me away. My 7-year-old eyes couldn't handle certain things in Armageddon that she deemed unworthy of my eyes.
Is that PG-13 or R?
That's PG-13.
Oh, okay.
But that damn song stayed with me forever, RB3.
Yeah.
It legitimately, I remember, even as a kid, it got stuck in my head and stuck in my heart, RB3.
Steven Tyler, man, killing it with those the tracks here.
And I never saw Animal Crackers the same way again.
No,
as a 7-year-old kid who liked Animal Crackers, I was like, damn, Liv Tyler. Damn.
Yeah.
You ruined it.
She was, I don't know about ruined it, but I still like me and my Apple, my Animal Crackers.
Oh, you made it better.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like even more now. No, Armageddon is dope though. I've always had a lot. Even though it's a silly kind of idea, I still think it's a pretty dope piece of movie.
Before we get to Armageddon, let's go with what Josh Macuga was talking about, which is his follow-up to Bad Boys, and that is.
Yeah, no, The Rock. Yes, I've seen this movie. It's been a minute, but I do. I remember watching this movie when I was first getting the idea of what Michael Bay was. And, this being one of the first, and also, I've always had a strange kind of, not strange, but I've always been a fan of Nicolas Cage, right? I've always been a big fan. I'm never going to call him a bad actor because I don't think he is. I think he's a great actor. I think this is one of the movies that he definitely proves that in.
This is the Nicolas Cage, time, dude. The 90s, the late 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, Nicolas Cage was
winning
everywhere.
Oscars.
He was in dramas. He was in action movies.
Yeah.
He was everywhere.
Yeah. No, deservingly so too. Deservingly so. And I think with this movie in particular, it's about Sean Connery's character. He's a high-level criminal locked up in Alcatraz, which is the Rock. A lot of people call it the Rock because it's just an island right outside of San Francisco. That's like a maximum security prison. So nobody's escaping the Rock, except for Sean Connery. And I think that's one of the coolest premises. I think of any action movie, like Josh said, the chase on the car chase with the Ferrari and the Hummer, tearing through those steep hills of San Francisco is amazing. The underground sequences when they're in the on the little rail things, trying, and I don't know what those things are called. You know what those are called?
No.
Those things, like the miners being or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just don't know what it's called.
I don't know what they're called. But those moments. I think overall, this movie, The Rock, is just a fun action movie, while also being, I feel like, a kind of interesting commentary on, not necessarily commentary, but at least addressing what the idea of prison is, right? And how some people will go to the maximum extremes to like break out, right?
Sure.
So, what do you think of The Rock, Ace?
I think it's one of those movies that I said this before. It's one of those movies that's literally telling you something, but the framing is telling me something different. Now, what I mean by that is the shots in this movie, the framing in this movie is incredibly over the top. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but oh my God, some shots in this movie are ridiculous.
Really?
I don't know if you've seen, obviously you probably haven't, but since I was watching sometimes with my mom, against my will, The Bachelor. Have you seen The Bachelor?
I've seen some of The Bachelor.
So The Bachelor is funny because I talk a lot about The Bachelor with my mom, and it's just, oh my God. But anyways, my thing with The Bachelor is that the camera guys have so much fun, and the DPs of The Bachelor have fun because they purposely do over the top shots. There is a shot in The Bachelor where the guy's talking. He's having like a voiceover dialogue basically, and he's like ripping rose petals off a rose, and he's talking about. He's like, I thought she was the love of my life, and my mom is watching it like very intently, like very, this, like a single tear rolling down her face, and I'm watching it like, this is insane. What's happening on screen right now? And then eventually he like throws a rose over a balcony, and it tracks the rose down, and then it has like the room shot of like the TV shattering of just the rose, and I was like, this is just ridiculous.
Hey,
that's my opinion of The Rock, where it's like I can't hear anything that they're saying because the visuals of this movie are just so insane. I don't know if you agree with me. Don't you think these shots are crazy? Like it has that famous like. I mean, how many helicopters are in this?
Right.
But there's the freaking explosion shot at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like the shots are crazy in this movie, and it's
No,
good
insane.
shots, but it's just so 90s action movie.
But I almost feel like to a certain extent, there's like Michael Bay kind of pulling it back.
You think so?
To a certain extent,
in a way, that's true.
To at least compared to what we're going to see later in Michael Bay's filmography.
That's true.
It's definitely over the top, but I feel like it's over the top in the same way that all 90s action movies are, right? Like if you watch, to me, The Fugitive is also one of the greatest action movies of all time too. You watch The Fugitive, I mean, it's a very well told, very well paced movie. But there are times that are a little silly, right? Like when Harrison Ford falls off the waterfall, and it's clearly a dummy, and it's clearly the stupidest music you could have put, like da na na or whatever. Like, but it's fun though, and
That's true.
And it's supposed to add to that heightened realism. And I think Macuga alluded to it a little bit before. Everything in Michael Bay movies are supposed to be heightened, right? They're a little big. Everything in all movies are heightened, but Michael Bay, like I said, he takes what most directors will be operating at 5 or 6 and cranks it up to 11 when it comes to suspension of disbelief, right? But I don't know. I definitely I liked it a lot. I love I love the way that the story kind of moves in one kind of like singular direction, and it's about mistakes, right? To a certain extent, I just saw Mission Impossible Fallout the other day.
You saw it again?
Yeah. Like, man, I love that movie,
Yeah.
But it's weird. I've watching this movie again in theaters kind of made me realize, like, all the Mission Impossible movies really are just like, hey, we have a plan, we fucked up the plan, like, let's just make a new plan. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what The Rock is in and of itself, right? Oh, we fucked up, let's do something else. I feel like that's what creates good conflict, and it's a good story. It's a good story underneath the heightened action too, so that's why I vibe with The Rock.
It definitely builds tension for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if you would agree with that too. But it's tension. You can feel the tension, which is anytime you feel tension, that's a good quality to have. Any final words before we get back to Armageddon?
Nah. I mean, The Rock, dope movie.
Let's get back to Armageddon.
Armageddon.
Now this kind of launched Ben Affleck's career.
Yeah, Ben Affleck. Yeah. Well, him and Michael Bay. I attribute this to Michael Bay, Kevin Smith, too, because of course Kevin Smith put Ben Affleck in a lot of his movies.
That's true.
When did Armageddon come out? 98, right? Armageddon came out in 98.
No, Armageddon came out in 98.
Yeah,
I thought you were
okay.
talking about the Kevin Smith one with.
No, Chasing Amy. Yeah,
That
it
one.
came out in 97.
Okay.
So Chasing Amy came first. which they're totally unrelated movies. Chasing Amy.
Same movie, man. Just kidding.
Chasing Amy also happens to be one of my favorite films.
Ooh, there you go.
So if we ever talk about a Kevin Smith episode, I'd love to just dig deep
we'll do that with Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
That'd be gnarly, dude.
Nah, that'd be gnarly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do a meeting of with Kevin Smith. That'd be nuts. I don't even know how to get in contact with this.
No.
But no, definitely. So I think that's what's dope about that's what's dope about Armageddon to a certain extent, right? Like how much of how cool of the concept in and of itself it is, without but it's the concept aside is mostly the stars. It's mostly Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, and all these different characters that are kind of bouncing off each other. Because it's, this was coming right after Apollo 13, which is, we covered in the Ron Howard episode. That movie came out in 95. This comes out in 98. And, it's all about, that movie's all about the seriousness of being astronauts. This movie just kind of takes astronauts or space travel and just kind of throws out the window for the idea of bringing truck drivers or oil drillers to stop a meteorite.
I was going to say, suspension of disbelief reached an all-time high with this movie. It's like, we can't teach these professional astronauts who are super well studied and learn everything how to do it. It has to be that guy.
Well, that's the funny quote, right? Did you hear that whole thing? If you listen to the Armageddon commentary with Ben Affleck.
Yes, that's why I was laughing when you first mentioned Ben Affleck, because I was thinking about the commentary he did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
it's
best. So good.
Yeah. No,
because he's just trashing the movie.
Yeah. It's always funny when you hear the actors talk about Michael Bay, because I was listening to T.J. Miller.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that too.
Kind of talking about this dude. He said something nuts, like he was just like he's a madman telling you to get out of the way of his shot or whatever. Like, it's just so funny that all these actors have these opinions on Michael Bay, but yet he seems to draw in the biggest talent in the world. Yeah,
I mean, I kind of want to mention that now that you brought it up, the story that my friend said. So my friend had a story he worked on. He was a PA on one of the Transformers ones for like a day or two, and he told me that Michael Bay is insane, first of all, and he told me that while some guy was took a seat on like a stool or something, and Michael Bay's just running around the set, and he like turns to the guy and says, "You're fired." And he just walks away. and apparently, like, you have to be like, never look him in the eye. You always have to be moving. You can't be standing still or sitting down. If you're sitting down, you'll be fired. And afterwards, a producer took him aside and was like, "By the way, you just fired our catering guy. You can't do that. We're going to rehire him." And he's like, "Oh, that's fine, whatever." But basically, he was telling me how, like, he likes to be behind the camera. That's the one thing he told me, too. And that's something that Michael Bay, like, cam op is what I mean. And the fact that he's absolutely insane and will fire you if you look him in the eye, or if you're not doing something, if you're sitting down or something like that.
Which is funny. If you're ever a PA on a movie, you'll know that 90% of your job is just standing there and doing nothing.
If you're a PA on a movie, that's true. That's very true. But if you're a PA on a movie, I was talking to my mom about it, because I was explaining how much, like, I'm like, "Mom, you don't get it. It's slavery."
Yeah, it is.
Being a PA is you're a slave. That's essentially what you are.
Yeah.
And you don't sit.
Yeah,
that's one thing I learned very quickly.
Yeah.
I never took a seat in like a 13-hour.
That's why I'm saying day. You stand there and do nothing. Like.
And I was like, "Oh my God, my feet hurt."
Yeah.
I have to do this for 12 more hours.
Right. It's funny because with the PA life, usually you show up to set, you work really, really hard for like 2-3 hours and set everything
just
up.
Running around.
Yeah. And then like once they actually start shooting, like you have to be like silent. Like
not just that, but you're calling for silence. That's what I did a lot when I was a PA, was calling for silence or echoing the calls.
Yeah,
for
echoing
silence.
the ADs and stuff like that. Yeah. That's what it is.
Either way,
poor guy.
I just think it's funny.
He fired the caterer.
Yeah, and he's like, "You can't do that. You gotta hire him back because we need food. We need to eat."
Well, really, I've honestly heard a lot of stories of directors who would just like walk up to somebody and just fire them on the spot. Yeah. I was one of my professors I guess I shouldn't say that, but I've heard this story from somebody who worked on a Spike Lee film, and they were talking about how how they were setting up a shot, like a morning shot, like an early morning shot, and they had to. This is not about firing, but it's just a random PA story, right? Like they had to get this shot, but there's this milk truck in the way. So then, like, obviously they can't tell the milk truck, hey, get out the shot. So then they literally sent all the PAs over there and helped the milk guy deliver the milk, so they could start setting up the shot, right? That's just the crazy things that like come up on sets.
I just had like an idea for like a show, like call it PA stories, and it doesn't have to be big movies. Like if you've worked on short films, like I have, or like just random short films from a director and a local director. Right. There is so many insane stories. Like I can personally tell you, and I'm not even like a pro PA, like full level pro PA, like other people are, who can tell you even crazier stories. Yeah. That to the point where everyone's gonna top another one. Wouldn't that be crazy? Because PAs have stories to tell.
Right. No, absolutely.
And they're all like you. It's like that's not true. Oh, it's true.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Salute to Spike though, man. Had one of his biggest, third highest opening weekend for Spike Lee.
Oh, how much did it make?
I think it was something in the range of. I don't know. I actually don't know numbers.
Oh, I love numbers, man.
But it's number 5. Open number 5.
Nice. Top 5. It made 10 mil over the
10
weekend.
10 mil. It's third biggest opening.
I loved that movie, Black Klansman.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I was like, this is going to be good. I'm going to like it. Maybe. But, it's going to be, typical Spike Lee, whatever. And I freaking walked out and I was like, holy crap, that was really freaking good. Like that is legit one of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah.
Freaking good.
No, it's amazing.
Shout out to Spike Lee.
Check out our episode on Spike Lee.
Yeah, we did an episode on Spike Lee.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would have loved to done that again. Just to talk about Black Klansman. Because I have a lot to say because it was so good.
Yeah, it's
Armageddon is crazy.
Yeah.
The idea of putting a nuke inside an asteroid and the fact that it would just go whoop around the earth is the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Right.
And the fact that you have to get like professional driller guys who are crazy, who are all insane. Even Steve Buscemi said it himself that they're all insane.
Yeah. Love Steve Buscemi in this movie too.
This movie's it's got a good cast. What's the guy who my favorite character in this movie? I don't want to ask you because I should know. The freaking blonde cowboy guy in the movie.
Oh, I know you're talking about.
Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson, William Fichtner, Liv Tyler, obviously that. Billy Bob. I forgot about Billy Bob's Thornton. In the movie.
Yeah.
There's Michael Clark Duncan. And a great performance.
R.I.P. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah, he's in. Yo, you know what? I just watched The Island today, so I'm noticing you said Steve Buscemi and Michael Clark Duncan both in The Island as well. So, hey, this shows Michael Bay likes his actors.
Michael Bay likes his actors, and definitely is. Here's back to what is he trying to say with this movie? I mean, essentially, the whole movie is about the father realizing that his he's daughter. Okay with the love of her life, his daughter going with another guy,
right? Also being the guy who he works with,
that he doesn't really trust the guy, and all this kind of stuff. This super stereotypical, old-fashioned kind of mentality that Michael Bay tends to have in the majority of his movies. What do you think of that? Do you think there's something there?
I mean, he's definitely.
I think you got to get the dad out of the way. You got to blow himself up, bro.
He got to explode.
Daddy's got to go, man.
Explode on top of a meteorite in order to properly give his blessing. It's funny because this movie and I think Transformers 4 have the daughter father.
The Transformers 4. I'll get into that. That's some weird shit in that movie.
Man, we should have called John Roca for Transformers movies.
Oh man, I'm about to obliterate them once we get to him.
We need a defender for those, man.
Oh no, I still don't comprehend it, man. Especially watching these movies again, it's incomprehensible.
Oh no,
it's so funny. Speaking of Roca, Matt Nost and I went back and forth on movie fights. My first movie fights, it was Matt Nost and I arguing the worst movie of all time to get more than 100 million because there's obviously a ton of super low budget shitty movies.
Right.
And we were going back and forth. He said Transformers 2. I said Transformers 3.
Hey.
And that was the movie fight.
Hey,
and we were
man.
both like, mine's shittier than yours. Oh, yeah? Well, mine has this shitty thing that happens. And Matt Nost is like, oh, yeah? Well, this one's extra shitty with shitty on top. And we're talking about the Transformers movies. It's the same movie.
Yeah,
And we're
same
trying to
franchise.
beat each other in a movie fight. I just think that's so ironic, the fact that Matt Nost has a show with John Roca. And the fact that we both have mutual hate
Right.
for the Transformers
Venomous
movie.
hate. Venomous hate.
Because they're bad. 'Cause they're bad. And we'll get into it. But yeah, that's my thing with Armageddon. It does have that father-daughter thing and the whole get the daughter out of the way. You got to accept it kind of thing. And she's trying to grow up and he's afraid to let his sweet baby girl go.
Yeah,
Some
right.
Really like 1950s type shit, bro.
Nah, I mean it's heartfelt though, and I feel like the love that Bruce Willis puts on display for his daughter Liv Tyler is nice. It's sweet, you know what I mean? It's adorable, and I think that, you know, but I also think they sell a pretty good chemistry between Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler as well. So you kind of believe that they're gonna, you know, that they're romantic and
It's
friendly.
Liv Tyler, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can never go wrong with Liv Tyler.
Never go wrong.
Isn't it weird that her dad sings the main song for this movie?
Super weird.
And then, but
I find that really weird. No one else does. I'm glad that you do too.
And then the whole point of the movie is the dad being played by Bruce Willis.
Yes.
And he dies.
Yes.
As it's being sung. That's like Inception. That's meta on top of meta right there. Didn't the song win an Oscar?
I think it. I
won
know it was nominated. I
Best
just don't know
original
if it
song?
won.
Yeah, I don't know either.
If
but-
it didn't, it should have won.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing in the movie is
Yeah.
the song. Speaking of very attractive women,
Whoa.
let's go to Pearl Harbor
Pearl Harbor.
and talk about Kate Beckinsale
Kate Beckinsale and
choosing
Ben
over
Affleck this
two
time.
men
Yeah.
during one of the most crazy moments in
And
U.S. history.
yeah. Literally the defining moment. That was the turning point for the United States in the modern
And
era.
it's all about
It's all about
Kate
Ben Affleck
Beckinsale
and-
trying to pick which one.
Right.
Oh,
man, that
Pearl
movie's nuts.
Harbor, man. What are your thoughts on this movie?
Oh man, it's crazy, man. I mean, like I said, I watched it. The 2 times I watched it were in 2 of my history classes.
Isn't this movie long as balls?
Oh, it's super long. You know,
Right? That's my
Yeah.
problem with Bad Boys 2, and I didn't want to offend Josh so much too, but man, this movie, Bad Boys 2, I can't lie, and I know you like it a lot too, but it drags, bro.
Yeah,
And I know
yeah.
a lot of people don't want to say that it drags, but it drags.
hey
it just
man, it
drags.
moves for me, man.
Oh, it
stays
drags
moving.
for me. I'm like, this movie's and this is another one that it's like, oh my god, this movie, you feel the
Yeah,
length.
this one's a little longer, and you know they're trying to sell it off that whole hype that like Saving Private Ryan had like kind of waved in. You know, the
I think this was before, wasn't it?
I
Oh
think
no,
Saving
no,
Private Ryan
yeah,
came
you're
out.
right. Saving
Yeah.
Private Ryan was before.
Yeah, but it kind of wrote that wave, right? Like the retelling of the story that you know we haven't heard, or you know it's partially fictionalized. I know for Saving Private Ryan, it's based on the true thing, but they fictionalized a lot of it. This is kind of a similar situation. I don't know if they based it off of anything, but there are real characters in this movie, like the character that Cuba Gooding Jr. plays.
That's right, the cook.
Yeah, the cook. That's actually a real figure in Pearl Harbor, a real hero. And there's a lot of parts of this movie that are actually like real. It's just framed in this like fictional kind of sappy love story.
Oh boy, this movie, this love story, man. So this is Josh Hartnett's kind of come to screen kind of thing. I know he did stuff before this. I think he
Well,
did TV stuff, right?
I don't know. I don't even know who Josh Hartnett is.
Josh
bro.
Hartnett, man, the other guy that.
I know he's the other guy. but
Oh,
I don't know what else is he in.
I think he was in like a TV show before this. And now he's in Penny Dreadful. Check out Penny Dreadful.
Oh, really?
For all
Yeah.
you Penny Dreadful fans.
Isn't that show over?
Yeah, I know it's on Netflix now.
Oh, okay, it's dope.
You can go watch it on Netflix. Shout
Yeah.
out to my girl, Eva Green.
Ava Green,
Eva
yeah,
Green,
yeah. Heard that
Dang,
show's
man.
good. I gotta check out that one, The Nick, on Cinemax.
yeah.
Yeah, that one I gotta check out.
Yeah,
Steven
yeah.
Soderbergh.
But anyway, Pearl Harbor has some very tense, dramatic, horrifying moments, which essentially the first half of the movie is a horror movie, right? When it comes to actual bombing and the actual stuff that's going on, it's you imagine, like, I can't imagine that. Like, same with Dunkirk. Dunkirk also showed me the horror of like being on a ship
yeah.
that's going down is the worst. You like shoot me, please, because I don't want to drown to death on a ship and I'm trying to open the door. Hell no. That's like the worst way to go.
Ace, now I'm offended.
What?
You've compared Pearl Harbor to Dunkirk.
I have.
Yeah,
It's the same movie, RB3. Get over it.
Now I'm offended.
And you love Michael Bay.
Hey, man. Michael Bay, hire me. Christopher Nolan, hire me too, man.
He's just going to walk out. And he's going to be like, I'm sorry. And just walk away. Have you seen that video?
Oh, man, no.
But anyways, that to me, at least for the most part, I remember watching that. And I watched this movie as a kid. I remember that 100%. Mm-hmm. And thinking, that's terrifying. Like, that's so terrifying.
And they portray the angle from the Japanese military. They cut back and forth between that as well.
That's right.
Some controversy between that kind of representation, at least in the sense that the motivation behind the bombings and stuff like that.
Sure.
I know a lot of people call that side of the story into question a lot as well. I'm not too familiar about the controversy surrounding this movie, but it's just interesting that this is. When you look at Pearl Harbor, from the perspective of American history books, like this is the moment where, like, the U.S. was like deep in depression. World War II was like already happening everywhere else in the world, but this was like the beginning of U.S. involvement, right? So then, the way it's handled in this movie, at least, it seems very much. I don't know. It seems sudden. I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at here is that we don't receive a lot of context for the rest of the world during this time. You know what I mean? We see at least the rest of America. We like we talk about, Michael Bay is a very pro-military guy. We see it from the naval standpoint, right? From the military standpoint. But I feel like this movie could have been a lot more compelling if it reached outside of that a little bit more. Because obviously Kate Beckinsale plays like a nurse, right? She plays a nurse, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, she plays like a nurse and wakes up in like perfect makeup like every time she wakes up for some reason. But it's just so I think to me, I think that's what I think the movie could have benefited from was the external perspective a little more outside of the military and the naval and the calling shots kind of deal. I wish it was more personal and the way it explored the time period a little more. So
yeah, I mean, we do see a little bit of the Japanese having some dialogue between each other. I just remember that famous line.
Yeah.
From one of the Japanese generals who says like, we just woke a sleeping giant or something like that.
Yeah.
We just poked the biggest bear or something like that. I forget the exact line, but he says something like that because the U.S. is like the biggest.
Right.
We picked a fight with the biggest guy in the schoolyard, whatever the line is.
Right.
I think it's we just awoke a sleeping giant is what the line is, but it's that kind of. It's that reflection of patriotism back to the audience, because that's what the audience wants to see. The audience wants to see USA, go USA, America, 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 and then the Japanese guy's going like, oh shit, we just messed with the biggest guy, and the audience reaction is like, that's right, boy, that's right. That kind of mentality of super militaristic type of sense of the U.S. military, right? Because this movie is also super military type movie, especially with Alec Baldwin's character.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting point. Have you seen Men in the High Castle?
I have not.
My buddy and I were watching that show, and it's about like other timeline, I guess. What if the Nazis actually won, and what if the Japanese were still basically what if the other side, the Axis powers won? So it's the Nazis take over like the East Coast and the Japanese take over the West Coast. So they show like a different version of like 1950s 1960s LA. It's super interesting, but it's one of those things of like back then what the Japanese were like, because if you think of Japanese now, we think of like anime and kawaii and super and technology and like culture being like crazy and funny and cool, but back then it just wasn't like that. It was very traditional. It was very, like victory type thing. So yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up, because I forget about controversy that was surrounding certain movies.
Right.
But for the most part, this movie is just a big sappy love story.
right. And it's another example of Michael Bay making an overtly kind of political movie without involving much of the politics in and of itself. I mean, don't we see like an American president Don't we see
we see FDR.
Frederick Douglass. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
We see FDR.
Yeah, because he has that scene where he stands up and he's like, "I've had enough of this."
Yeah.
And he looks like FDR too.
Yeah,
he really looks like. I remember that too. Not just that, but I forgot Ip Man too. Have you seen Ip Man?
The
martial arts movie.
Yeah.
It's not Bruce Lee. It's Donnie Yen.
Yeah, Donnie Yen. But it's about the guy who trained Bruce Lee.
Correct. Yeah. It kind of tackles the Japanese-Chinese relations during that time. I don't know if you remember watching that movie, but it also talks about how the Japanese were back then. Even invading something like China, and China is enormous, and yet the Japanese were like, "We don't care, boy."
Yeah,
and how crazy they were, basically. But I don't know. I just went on a tangent about that. But yeah, man, Pearl Harbor, I think that's the biggest thing that people remember from it. And it's obviously the music plays heavy hand too.
Right.
Because the music is super dramatic and over the top. And the love scenes are super dramatic and over the top.
Yeah.
Do you remember the love scene with Josh? And it's like in parachutes and there's parachutes hanging from the wall and they're making love on, I forget what it is, but it's like blankets everywhere and stuff.
I know what you're talking about,
And I was like, this is...
That's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But I guess if people are into it, man, I guess...
Yeah, Pearl Harbor,
Do
man.
you, man. Do
Yeah.
you. The Island is a movie you just
The Island is a
saw.
movie I just engaged in. So
You've seen it before, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it briefly before, but I've given it a full sit-down watch because this is really, Transformers aside, this is really Michael Bay's only sci-fi movie.
Oh, that's right.
Instead of like just a pure action movie.
That's a good point.
And this it's a movie starring Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan.
My boy, my homie,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. Let's
Yeah.
go. Ewan.
Yeah, and he and Scarlett Johansson as
Scarlett
well.
Johansson.
It's set in the world. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, and this is, people probably get mad at me by saying this, but notice every female lead in all these movies. What do they have in common? Bad Boys, Pearl Harbor, Armageddon, and now Scarlett Johansson.
They're all beautiful women.
They're all super stunning, beautiful women. Like drop dead, gorgeous, like crazy beautiful women. I just thought that was, and we'll see that again in Transformers, obviously.
Right.
The Michael Bay way certainly has a formula to it when it comes to female characters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he definitely has, But
back to the island.
But the island though, I feel like that's a movie where it's about not necessarily about. It's about a lot of things. I feel like that's probably one of the more meaningful movies that he's done because it's about a dystopian future where these clones are sent to this they don't know they're clones, but they just think they're just a piece of society that's left that's like forced to stay on this island. Long story short, we realize that they're actually clones of real people that are hid away in case those actual people in the future need
like filthy
organs.
rich people.
Yeah, filthy rich people. Yeah, in case those people need organs or surgery or new skin or whatever, they just take it off the clone and give it to them. I think that's a pretty fascinating idea in the sense that it's about in the sense that it's about a future where the wealthy, the 1%, are making an attempt at eternity and how that attempt at eternity kind of blows back. I mean, I've been binging Westworld recently.
I was going to say Altered Carbon.
I haven't watched Altered Carbon yet.
I was going to be so excited if you said Altered Carbon. I know, Westworld's great too.
Did you finish season
I did,
2?
yeah. I was watching it, as soon as it premiered, I was right there watching it.
Okay. Now, I only saw the first episode live and then...
I watched everything live.
Okay, I'm catching up to it now, though. And one of the things that I found really fascinating in season 2, without spoilers, is that the undercurring idea behind Westworld is not necessarily an amusement park, but an idea for extending life, right? And I think that's what this movie kind of tackles a lot of too, right? Like to what moral extent should we toy with science and these kind of like Frankenstein monster type of clones, how you're presenting that, what I mean? It says a lot about a lot of different things that I've always appreciated.
Yeah, that's all Altered Carbon too. Altered Carbon is literally about rich people extending their lives type of thing.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the Blade Runner effect.
It
too,
is,
right?
and that's what I was gonna say. Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah,
Ghost in the Shell is literally about that too. If you watch the anime, the series, anime series, because
Right.
the movie not so much, but the anime series gets into immortality and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, literally every cyberpunk type
Right.
movie or show tackles that.
Right. Right. Which is
Yeah.
why Blade Runner is a classic. And
Blade
why
Runner is a classic, and Blade Runner
2049
2049 is great.
It's not.
We said it at the same time. As you were saying it's not, I was saying it's great.
Hey man, it's facts.
I'm telling you, man. Have you heard of the YouTube channel FilmJoy?
Not no.
FilmJoy did a video on Blade Runner 2049 and why it's great. And you
Wonderful.
should check that out, RB3.
I don't need anybody trying to justify
To
it.
tell you you're wrong. You need someone to tell you you're
Nah,
wrong.
I'm right. By the way, you can watch my little clip. There's a little clip from the Wanger show we did
I
in
saw
San
that.
Diego when I'm arguing for Blade Runner. I didn't even get all the points out. I only had
And
a
you're
minute.
arguing with Adam, who's like the biggest Denny fan
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Because I remember he's like a massive Denny fan.
Oh, he's the biggest.
Yeah.
And he loves Blade Runner 24. But he got stomped. And listen, if we were to have a serious conversation, Ace, about Blade Runner 2049 one day, I'll lay you out every single scene by scene what I hate. You know what I mean?
That's totally a video we should do.
We
100%.
got to, man.
Have to.
Yeah, I could go scene by scene of what I think, because I actually do think Blade Runner 2049 is a great film in some sense. Like, there are scenes that are amazing to me. There are also just scenes that I feel like are really bad, but that's just my opinion.
The only one that agrees with you is the box office.
Ooh, boy.
Ooh.
Hey, would I have got nominated for Best Popular Film, huh? Oscars, huh?
Oh,
Huh?
dude, don't get me started on that. Why'd you have to bring that up? Now the Michael Bay thing is out the door. We're going to talk about just that.
It's the Oscars.
Because literally, your tweet was going to be my tweet.
Really?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, dude. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest scapegoat they can do.
Yeah.
It's like the most like, well, we could nominate these movies, but let's just make up another category and
Yeah.
then we can nominate it there.
Yeah.
See, guys, we're hip, we're cool, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is
It's like Best
bad.
Animated Feature all over again. You know?
Dude, it's bad. I mean, it's one of those things where I said it on Twitter. I said it's the idea of like sitting at the table type thing. It's like, you can't really sit at our table, but we made another table. It's kind of cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little shittier. It's a little low to the ground. You got kind of shitty seats, but there's cool stuff. It's got cool confetti and balloon, and it's like it's trying to pander so much.
Yeah.
When it's just like, why can't superhero cool, actual good quality films actually be nominated for Best Picture?
Yeah.
That's never gonna happen
What's
anymore
happening
because
to
there's
Black
Best
Panther?
Popular Film.
Yeah. What's
Oh my
happening to Black
God.
Panther?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Black Panther is a perfect example of why that's like, well, I mean, not Best Picture, but Best Cool Popcorn Stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, man. Come on.
You look at the story of Black Panther too, like that's the most Oscar-baited movie. We just look at the story, right? It's about a king who's wrestling with the idea of tradition versus technology.
But just because it's a superhero film, it probably won't get nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
That to me is mind blowing.
And you know what's funny to me, man? Somebody
Just because of that. And I insist that a lot of people might disagree with me, but I insist that the Academy is literally, they have a vendetta against like superhero film. I really do feel that.
Logan definitely could have been nominated over like half those nominees last year.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I don't know.
But I will say though, I do hope the Academy does. I think it's a little foul. I don't know if they heard our podcast and like kind of misinterpreted what we were saying about how to fix the Oscars. Because
That's what I talked to my mom about how we made an entire podcast about it.
yeah.
Like we literally had an entire episode of why the Oscar viewers were like failing. Like,
Right,
it just kept
right,
going
right.
down and down and down.
And I think in that segment, I think I had kind of incorrectly said that I think they should figure out a different way with the technical categories. I don't think doing them during the commercials is the right thing at all. I think I don't know. You definitely could have. Somebody made a great point, man. You know that the Oscars spent 21 minutes last year of Armie Hammer throwing hot dogs at unsuspecting people just trying to watch A Wrinkle in Time, but now they're cutting. Commercial breaks. You know what I mean? But cutting the technical categories for commercial. I always said, man, if you want the Oscar viewership to go up, let the short films be public. Let them be on YouTube, man. If you want people to watch them, because honestly, if people aren't going to watch the regular movies, imagine if, you know, God forbid, like Logan Paul ever makes something, you know what I mean, that's Oscar worthy. But imagine if a big 3 million, 4 million subscriber YouTuber makes this amazing short film that's Oscar worthy. Imagine all those people that are going to tune in, right?
That's
like
such a good point,
That's
yeah.
that would be amazing, but They're never going to do that. So I think that would have been a great solution to incorporate a younger generation. Nobody wants a popular film category.
Well, yeah, they want to be associated with the best, right?
Yeah.
Best picture. That was my gripe. That's what the whole thing was about. 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, or whatever the movie's called.
Right.
The fact that no one's seen that. Like, it's a great movie, cool, but come on, you can nominate other stuff too, man.
And you think about it, man, like really something like Gladiator or Lord of the Rings. I mean, Lord of the Rings is a great movie, but
I'm telling you, if Lord of the Rings came out now, it wouldn't get nominated.
It wouldn't get nominated.
100%.
And definitely, and I think particularly more towards Gladiator. If you compare something like Gladiator to Black Panther, the difference in quality isn't that variable, honestly.
Gladiator is one of my all-time favorite movies.
No, but okay, no, I love Gladiator too. Okay. I love Gladiator. No, I love Gladiator, but honestly, like, it's not the deep philosophical character study. I mean, it's a great movie. It's a great action movie, and it's a great character piece. But I think you could definitely make comparisons to Black Panther at the very least. You know
there's a reason why I liked it as a kid. I was like 9 when I saw Gladiator.
Right.
There's a reason why. It's because it's cool, sword and sandal, and
right. Yeah. I think just my point at least. It's at least as, if not as great. Black Panther is at least as important as Gladiator, right? So I don't know. I feel like that's the total.
I mean, there's that. That's probably one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one. But to be honest, man, our entire podcast was about this too. On that episode, they're just ignoring the main reason why that people didn't watch the Oscars. It's because of the politics, and I insist that that's another reason why. But that's a whole different conversation.
I love Kimmel, but let's not have Kimmel back. You know?
But it's how many people, if you ask on Twitter, didn't watch the Oscars because of politics?
Yeah,
a lot of people.
Yeah,
a ton.
Strip down the politics. Strip down the stupid sketches. Strip down the musical acts. Just get to the awards and make the short films popular. And get rid of this whole...
And nominate The Island for Best Popular Film.
I don't know about that. I don't know if it's that good, Ace, but...
No, I'm just trying to transition back to The
Island. The Island is definitely a Best Popular Film winner. I think it won an MTV award, though, which is weird.
Really? That's weird.
I think. I'm not sure. But yeah, it has a lot to say about the future and how we treat each other and how the advancement of technology is going to lead to this point. I also think this is interesting because it's the first sci-fi. I mean, of course, Transformers is different, but this is the first sci-fi movie that kind of carries the Michael Bay aesthetic to a certain extent. So it's still like the hyper glamorized camera moves is still like the insane
super saturation.
The
chase,
the car chases are still super insane, even
crazy.
Even though it's set in the future. There's a scene where it's literally the same exact scene as Bad Boys 2. Like they're in this truck, these giant like things, and he pulls the strap and like lets them fall on the cars behind him the exact same way as Bad Boys 2. You know what I mean? Yeah. Except it's just future, so the cars are like flying.
He's like retreading things that happen in his movie.
Yeah. Nah. So, but it's cool though.
That car chase is. I like we talked about it with Josh, but that I still think that's one. Like you said, it's one of the best of all time. That thing is crazy, dude. Like when Will Smith like peeks out the window and he sees the car, he's like, "Oh my god!" Or I forget what he says, like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
I felt that. I felt like the cars were gonna hit me. When I was watching that.
Yeah.
So props to Michael Bay for making cool chase scenes.
Yeah.
And making almost every movie have a chase scene.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the Transformers franchise, I was watching Michael Bay stuff on YouTube, and I ran across a Cinefex video.
Oh, really?
Him. Do you remember when Cinefex used to do the drinking games movies with T? Shout out to T.
T's amazing.
I love T. They did one for Michael Bay movies.
Oh, really?
And I just wanted to read off the drinking game for anything that happens in a Michael Bay movie. They just said a Michael Bay movie.
Hey, people take note. We're doing this at home.
They said drink once if there's slow-mo, a screaming girl, product placement, sexism, making out, or classic rock plays.
Oh, man. You're going to be smashed by the first 15 minutes.
Drink twice if there's a crazy death scene, an explosion, stereotype or racism, or a car crash.
Oh, no. You're down the first 10 minutes.
And then drink 3 times if there's a sunset, a car chase, or some helicopter shots, which there's a lot.
You're cooked after 60 seconds of watching the Michael Bay movie.
And I just think it's funny because that's Michael Bay in a nutshell, man. There you go.
It is Michael Bay. You know what's fucked up, man? This entire podcast, I've held this in my pocket, and I literally forgot to mention it when we were talking about both Bad Boys 2 and Black Klansman. But I love in Bad Boys 2 when the movie literally opens with like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence taking out an entire KKK meeting, the cross burning. I just think that shit was so funny. Relating it to that, like that's the opening scene, and I'm telling you, that movie it's just set in the middle of a river, explosion, gunshots. People getting shot, people getting murdered, so much slow motion, and just one opening sequence. That is when the hype is. Opening moments when all the dudes are just wearing the mask or whatever, burning the cross. They're like, we're not gonna let and then and I think Will Smith gets shot, or one of them gets shot in that.
No, Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence gets shot. Yeah,
he gets shot in the butt.
Yeah, in the butt. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if
Michael Bay.
I was saying that. So if you're doing this drinking game at home, don't do Bad Boys 2.
Oh no, you'll be dead quick.
You'd be dead by the time the crosses get lit. So. Not that one.
Let's get into the Transformers movies.
Yeah.
Because that were just the one big blanket, the Transformers movies.
No, they are just kind of one thing.
They really kind of is. So I said before, I highly recommend watching Lindsay Ellis's video on it. I don't know if you've seen them.
I saw him a long time ago. I haven't.
She's still updating it. Like, she's still making more.
Oh, really? Interesting. Is it more than one video, or is it?
Yeah, it's a series.
Oh, it's a series.
Yeah,
okay.
she says she's going to make 12, and she's made 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
cool.
Marxism one just came out like a week or two ago.
I'm interested in that.
It's all Marxism, bro.
Hey,
who knew that the Transformers movies had a big influence in Marxist theory? Because it basically checks all the lists off Marxist theory.
Really?
About
Okay.
the freaking commercialism of capitalism,
Right.
and how everything is basically a product to consume to basically subdue the lower class citizens.
Right.
That's Transformers.
Wait,
the logo pops out.
So are these movies pro-capitalism or anti-capitalism?
Oh, this movie is like a capitalistic wet dream, but it basically fills all the Marxist, basically all the warnings that Karl Marx gave on capitalism.
Right.
This movie does that.
Right.
This movie fills all the warnings out as far as what it basically entails. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Right. But she talks about what it has to say about queer identity, what it has to say about women. It has a lot to say about women. And she breaks it all down in those videos that I already recommended like 5 times.
Right.
But
she's amazing. She's
one
of my favorite.
I love Lindsay Ellis.
Yeah.
I think she Jesus, I should stop talking.
Yeah, USC graduate, fight on.
There you go. But yeah, I was gonna say something else because I was on Twitter and I was like going through her Twitter feed because I was just curious, and I was like, did she get married? Because she's like in a wedding dress and something. Hey, just go on her Twitter. I'm being honest, and I can't lie. A part of me was like, damn it. A little part of me. She'll watch this and never work with me. She's gonna be like, "You're just like Michael Bay."
That's a big allegation.
Anyways, for a movie franchise that has such a notorious fan base, such a notorious critical acclaim, it sure has a lot to say. Apparently, is what I'm learning with the Transformers movies. Because to be honest, man, Transformers, rewatching these movies, and I know we just talked about Roka beforehand, but the fact that Roka defends these movies, I'm telling you, man, I've seen a lot of movies, RB3, and I'm letting you know right now, the Transformers movies are some of, if not the worst movies of all time.
Oh, man.
And that's not an exaggeration.
All right, let's take the first one
that's
out.
That's not hyperbole. That's some real shit.
No.
And if you don't agree, go watch the movie fights where me and Matt Nost
Hey, listen,
are going back and forth talking about which Transformers movie, which it's the most successful shitty movie franchise of all time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I just rewatching these, it gives me confirmation. It's so freaking bad. It's everything that people don't like about Michael Bay to the 10th craziest degree that you can possibly think of. It's It paints awful stereotypes on people of color. It paints awful stereotypes of women. It frames people in horrible ways. And what's worse is that it's just legitimately hard to follow and bad.
Yeah, they're hard to follow, definitely.
It's so loud. It's so in your face. It has some of the quickest cuttings in any movie ever. And it's awful. It's just really bad.
Hey, well, let's hear how you really feel, Ace. No, I'm kidding.
I can keep going, man.
Hey, listen, I love the first one. I'm gonna say it up front, like no cap.
Even the first one is
alright.
Because everyone's like, "Yo, the first one's good," and I'm like, "Is it though? Is it good?
It's not good.
Or is it like
it's not good? It's amazing.
All right.
It's amazing, Ace. That's what it is. All right, and I'll tell you why. All right, as soon as that movie started with what's the opening scene of that?
Of the first one?
The first one,
Isn't it his grandfather?
Yo, and the ice thing with and then it cuts to the class presentation and his dad and everybody. I don't know, man. I love that movie. It feels like a great coming of age story. And you know what? I also love. I think I was referring to the wrong thing, but I also love that scene. I loved all the stuff in the military, that whole military evasion of the Transformers.
Oh, that's how it opens.
I think
that's how it opens.
Yeah, I think that's what I was referring to. Like that whole thing where like it's just like the one Transformer just wrecking shop on this entire military base. That was kind of cool. I can't lie. That was kind of cool. That's how you
seeing that in theaters was kind of cool.
That's how you open a movie, man. And that was viscerous. And you see Josh Dunham, is that pronounced?
No, Josh something else. Duhamel.
Josh Dunham is the comedian, right?
Yeah.
With the puppet. Josh, he was on. This guy was on General Hospital, right?
Yes, Josh Duhamel.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just know he's married to
Grey's
Fergie.
Anatomy.
He's married to Fergie, right?
Is he?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So come up. Anyway, that's good though. Hey, but I love.
It's got Tyrese in it.
Tyrese, cut that check. Tyrese, get that check.
He's still crying.
Hey, man, he's still
Some
crying.
people say he's still crying.
Don't take away my baby. Tyrese. I love Tyrese. Bernie Mac, R.I.P. legend.
Oh no, Bernie Mac.
Yeah,
in this movie.
Bernie Mac is amazing.
No.
Oh man.
What's his face? The guy from Blackish, homeboy.
Oh, Anthony Anderson.
Anthony
Anderson with the donuts.
I ate the whole plate.
I ate the whole plate. And then oh man, I don't know, man. I love every second of this movie. I even a lot of people make the whole joke of the Bumblebee peeing on a dude. I actually don't think
that's awful.
It is awful, but I do think that seems funny. I love his parents, Shia LaBeouf's parents in this movie.
They're terrible.
This to me is the one movie where like the crass like kind of over the top humor in these movies actually kind of works.
Breaking my heart everything you say.
R.I.P. Jazz in this movie.
Oh, Jazz.
Yeah, man, R.I.P. Jazz.
What does he say when he first shows up? What's up, little bitches?
Yeah, what's up, little bitches? Yeah. Yeah. Hey.
I can't lie. I'm watching this in the theater. As soon as he says, "What's up, little bitches?" I heard there's a cool place to chill. I was like, "That's my favorite Transformer."
Yeah.
I literally pointed to the screen and said that. I was like, "That's my favorite Transformer." Though. And when he died, I was like, "Damn,
yeah, you got ripped in half. Megatron, man. God damn.
Jazz likes hip hop. That's like 2000. That was like my hip hop phase. Where everything was. I was like, he likes hip hop.
Yeah,
I like hip hop. I like jazz.
Oh, it's cool. They gave him the name Jazz. I guess I never thought about that. Jazz. He's black, or he's a black voice at least.
That's another thing that we can get into when it comes to stereotypes in this movie of minorities and robot minorities. I mean, especially with the third one or fourth one with I don't know, the two homies. The third one, I forget their names, Junkyard and something else.
That was really nasty.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was the second one actually, wasn't it?
It might be this. I forget.
Yeah,
the second one.
They all kind of blend together.
The second one is when I learned what this is, man. Because I remember watching that in theaters and like legit 15 minutes in. I'm like, I think I need to walk out. Like my head was gonna explode of how much shittiness was hitting me in the face. It was bad. But yeah, I mean, the first one's acceptable. The first one's alright. It's Shia LaBeouf.
The first one's great.
Being Shia LaBeouf. It's Megan Fox being really
amazingly beautiful,
really hot in this movie, and framed in a way that makes you feel like, damn, Michael Bay, this is. I mean, she's supposed to be playing like a 16, 17-year-old, man. I mean, chill, bro, chill.
Yeah, it's a little.
But watching this in theater and I forget how old I was. I don't know, 12, 13, 14, whatever, however old I was in 2007. 2007, I was 15. 15-year-old boy Mr. Ace, it painted a picture for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because like it's definitely not good to portray women that way.
It's really not.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, that shot where Megan Fox is holding up the hood and the crop top, that's almost an iconic shot, though. You know what I mean?
Is it iconic in a good way though?
I think
it's iconic in a damn. This is messed up.
No, I think it's iconic in the way that like the Farrah Fawcett photo was like popular in the '80s. You know what I mean? Like it's something for guys to hang on walls. I guess
this is the ultimate.
Maybe you shouldn't be hanging them on walls or whatever, but I don't know. It's different,
dude. I had a poster of I've said this before. I think I've said this before. I had a poster of Padme.
Oh, really?
Natalie Portman's Padme when I was 2002 or when that movie was coming out. It was real.
Hey.
That love was real, man.
Hey, man. Padme.
I was in love.
No, I don't know. I still think this movie's great.
That's the thing. It's the framing of I'm gonna make it broad, but all the Transformers movies, the way that he paints women is very, 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 very objectifying to the most objectifying it can go. I mean, it's basically
for the third one. That's when I started to notice the problematic shit. I guess it was the second one.
No, it was the third one with the new girl.
With the new girl, but I mean, particularly with the second one where there was like the chick who was the Transformer, the Transformer chick or whatever.
Yeah,
and she like seduces Shia LaBeouf in the college dorm room.
Yeah,
and like her tongue comes out and it's like the mechanical shit. I was like, oh, this is nasty. So what's Michael Bay trying to say? Like these females learning?
Ooh, yeah,
man, I don't know. So
women are objects to be looked at and glazed at, and but once you get them talking, man, them tongue is gonna wrap around your throat and kill you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like that's some hardcore shit, bro.
That was a hard scene.
That's some high level like freaking hypnotizing type shit where the director is literally telling you
these hoes is dangerous.
These hoes are dangerous. Get yourself a hot chick, even if you're like a bumbling dumbass that Shia LaBeouf is. And if once you get him, man, they're as hot as your car, man, because everyone knows cars are hot.
Cars and chicks.
And everyone knows that your best friend is the United States military.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what all the Transformers movie is. It's a giant ad for the U.S. military. I mean, it's crazy.
I love what the whole Josh Duhamel story in this one though, because I feel like his story out of all the stories in this and the first one at least had a full kind of arc where he has to learn how to be, where he is the subservient soldier, but also has to take the initiative in and of himself too and become the leader.
Yeah.
And same thing with Shia LaBeouf. It kind of parallels those two. I hate the second one.
The second one's so bad. The second one's so bad. The third one's bad.
Third one's bad. Third one. All right. Third one. I give a little more to, man.
No, don't do that to me.
I give the third one.
The third one's shit.
I give the third one a little more credit because the
third one gave me a headache so big that I couldn't even move, man.
Listen, bro. I made this point ever since 2012. Like the ending of Transformers 3, the exact same ending as the Avengers. The exact same ending.
That's true.
The exact same ending.
Yeah.
People fucking. But we love the Avengers
because you know why? You know why? And this is gonna get into my biggest gripe with Michael Bay because I wrote down a list of gripes. There's a lot.
No.
My number one, humor.
Yeah.
That's why.
The humor
in Avengers works. The humor in Michael Bay movies do not work. Mm-hmm. The humor in these movies are so bad. It adds to it. Imagine being shaked around and turned around and twisted around, and on top of that, someone is in your ear saying the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah, that's
what it's like watching these movies.
Yeah,
because every line is so bad and it doesn't land. It's like joke, and every time it's like doesn't land. It's straight up like missing the landing spot. Like every time, it's just bouncing off of it. Because it just doesn't work. And the Transformers movies are the biggest example. We'll get into Pain and Gain. We'll get into other movies.
Hey, I love Pain and Gain.
Pain and Gain, man, I can't lie. I was like, this is too much.
Oh, man.
But for me, the Transformers movies, it's like, what are you doing, man? It's just not funny. Nothing you're saying is funny. I don't know. That's just my gripe with all these movies and the fact that everything it has to say, because it has a lot to say, is just trash. It's just actual trash.
Yeah, it does things. It does have things to say, not good things to say. I will say, I think, and I was gonna mention this like during the 13 hours one. I think a lot of it is about the military. A lot of it is pro-military. I think it's important to make that distinction. Now, though, I would never say I'm very pro-military. I'm just anti-war, right? Like that's the dividing line for me, you know what I mean? So
I'm super pro-military too. So I said that already, but
but with these movies, it kind of portrays a military base that has to engage in a whole new war with these robots that we weren't initially supposed to be a part of. Now they're fighting on usually American kind of territories, but isn't it fascinating that we would if hypothetically, of course hypothetically speaking, but if there was a giant talking robots who transformed into cars that landed on Earth, that would be where our military direction has to.
Well, I've said it before. I talked about it in Aliens when we talked about James Cameron. How it's we need to fight some crazy United States Marines, man.
Yeah,
that's the type of shit we need. And I'm like, hell yeah, America, F yeah, man, America, F yeah. I would totally say that. Are you kidding me? The Marines are crazy. They would kill anything, including giant xenomorphs, or giant robots, or the other one that I was thinking of is what was the other one I was thinking of? But the fact that the U.S. military is zombies. I've always said in every zombie apocalypse type movie or show, if the zombie apocalypse actually happened, the United States military would rule the freaking planet. 100%.
We already ruled the planet.
But I'm talking freaking military takeover. They run everything. Because what you need is ammo, good people to killing, and it's a billion zombies. I'm going to go where the U.S. Army is. That's the safest place to be because they're freaking run everything. So obviously there's other movies that talk about that, like 28 Days Later. But the fact that, if I definitely want to be on the side of the U.S. military when shit goes down. And that's kind of what you're trying to say is the fact that of these suspension of disbelief, these crazy sci-fi stories, whether it be zombies, aliens, or giant robots, you definitely are very pro-military.
Right.
Go USA.
Right. No, absolutely. But yeah, that's just, so I don't know. I like the third one. I don't like it. Actually, I don't like it, but I think that one's the least trash out of out of
I think the first one's the least trash.
No, I think the first one's a great movie. I'm talking from 2 to 5.
Got you.
The third one's definitely the best. Can you at least agree? Can you agree with that, or? You like the second one more than the third one?
No, I definitely don't. And I definitely don't like the other ones. I guess. To me, it's just the same level of shit. It's like trying to pick between what type of shit you like better. It's hard. It's hard to pick what type of shit I like better.
I thought the third one had the best action. For me, I jumped off of the franchise at number 4. I haven't even seen the 5th one.
Yeah.
I was honestly because
I've seen parts of it, but I'm the same way. I jumped off.
Yeah, I was a little thrown off because I had watched Transformers 1 through 3, and when it went to the 4th one, I literally had no idea what was happening.
Yeah. Well, that's my thing too. Is I said it on Schmoes. That's why I pointed at you.
All right.
That I will not support these movies with my money. I'm not doing that shit.
I didn't see your 4th one in theaters.
Yeah, I stopped after I almost walked out of 2.
Oh God.
Yeah, I saw the 3rd one when it was on cable. I saw everything else when it was on cable. The 5th one.
Maybe that's why you don't like the 3rd one. I saw the 3rd one IMAX 3D.
No, I saw it on TV, man. I saw it in my house.
I feel you, man.
Yeah.
Now IMAX, that movie on IMAX 3D, the whole ending, that's just
that movie give me a headache, bro.
Yeah, I know, but
give me a headache. I was this is so dumb. It's giving me a headache.
It's a lot. You sleep through the first hour and a half, and then just wait till it gets to Chicago.
And then we get into the Stanley Tucci's of the other movies. Shout out to Stanley Tucci playing the best character in Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Caesar Flickerman. That's my boy, man.
Yeah.
Caesar Flickerman. The Hunger Games. Ha ha ha. He's the best part of the movies.
Katniss Everdeen,
the girl on fire. And unfortunately, in these movies, I have to get off the Tucci gang.
Oh no!
I
You don't
have
like
to
when
send
you
in
had
my
the thing?
resignation for the Tucci gang.
You didn't like when the micro transformers transformed into the Beast pill?
Oh no!
Yeah.
It was hurting me. I was like, this is just a giant
Yeah,
commercial.
it's
And then
late.
Mark Wahlberg being the shittiest person in the
Open
world,
up that Bud Light.
opening up the Bud Light, threatening to punch kids in the face. You want to get punched in the face really hard?
Was the fourth one was the one that was like justifying like underage
freaking rape? Are you kidding me? That hurt me, man. I was like, really? Is this what the movie's about? It's about how this guy wants to rape this 16-year-old, 17-year-old girl? Holy shit. Michael Bay's reaching a different level, man. Like, come on. How low
crazy.
bottom of the barrel type shit can you get?
That's crazy.
Like, he gets real low, but that's real low, man. I was like, come on, man. The actor's name is like Jack Rayner or something? I
Yeah,
forget his
Jack
name.
Rayner, yeah.
And he's like justifying how he's hooking up with
What
this
was it? Yeah,
16-year-old
Romeo
girl.
and Juliet law.
Oh,
Romeo and Juliet
man.
law.
I
They started dating before they
like
18.
the word cringe has never felt more real than in that moment when I was watching that movie. I was like, holy shit, this is real. This is actually happening. Any last words on Transformers?
And man, I don't have anything I don't even know what the fifth one isn't. There like a King Arthur Nazis? I don't know,
Yeah.
man. That's just to sound too.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Bumblebee though. Travis Knight. Hopefully.
I kind of am too, man. I was thinking about it as I was prepping for this, and I was like, I kind of like Travis Knight, and I'm kind of interested to see what Haley Steinfeld and John Cena do.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
John Cena.
John Cena. Can you see me?
That's
You can't see me.
yeah.
There it is.
That's
All
it.
right,
Are you thinking of Booker T?
Booker T.
Can
yeah.
you dig it,
Can you,
sucker?
I was trying to combine it. And, no, I was at the Comic-Con panel for
Oh yeah, I
Bumblebee.
was gonna say I kind of like that running joke of I can't. Who's there? I can't see him.
Yeah, yeah.
The John
yeah,
Cena can't
yeah.
see you thing.
No, somebody did that at the
I
Comic-Con
know,
panel.
I saw that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was dude, that was the one. I was like, I wish I was at Comic Con right now, just for that.
Honestly, like,
Just so I could look at John Cena.
no, you know what? That panel, it started off dope because it had the song. They performed the song.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the song, but it's from the Transformers movie.
Sure, yeah.
They performed it, and it was like a light show, and that was dope. And then it went to like the most boring panel in the world. And then John Cena came out,
Yeah.
and it just woke the place up.
John Cena out of nowhere. John Cena out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's like, guess who's that walking in? You just see John Cena like run in from like the back of the.
I wish, and I know. I know it didn't happen, and that's my biggest gripe of whoever organized that shit. Because if I'm the person who's organizing John Cena or whatever, how the hell did you not play the John Cena theme?
Dun, 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 dun.
The before it builds
Right,
up.
right.
And when you freaking see the guy screaming,
Yeah, the dudes would have lost it.
yeah, it would have been so cool if you just hear it and it's like, what's going on? They didn't do that, right? I'm assuming they're not.
I don't remember, man.
Oh, dude, if they did that, you imagine it's like, what's going on? Like the narrator, whoever it was,
Yeah.
the moderator.
Yeah.
And it would have been like, whoa, is that John Cena?
I don't know. They might have honestly done it. They made it entrance though. It was a big entrance.
I was gonna say that would have
Yeah.
been cool as hell.
Yeah.
I would have been going crazy.
I know Christian and Roka were like losing their minds when that happened. But
John Cena, man. John Cena's insane. If
Yeah.
you see his, have you seen the reality show?
I haven't seen his reality show. No.
It doesn't make him look good.
Oh, no.
It makes him look crazy because he's crazy. We'll learn real quick. Anyways, Pain and Gain.
Pain and Gain with Mark Wahlberg.
Speaking of John Cena, speaking of muscles, of giant
Anthony
muscles.
Now this movie,
Michael Bay's
The Rock.
obsession with enormous muscles is in
This movie is
This
Mark,
movie's the
Mark Wahlberg looks,
buffest movie I've seen, man.
Mark Wahlberg looks crazy in this movie, man.
Mark
He
Wahlberg
looks
is
crazy.
high on steroids in this movie, if that's even possible. His entire performance is roid rage, pure high roid
intensity,
rage. He's
yeah.
going on a trip.
High
And his trip
testosterone.
is roid rage.
Yeah.
He's insane in this movie. Like, he looks so big. Because Mark Wahlberg is like my height.
Is he really?
Yeah. And I'm not a big dude. I'm talking about height.
Right.
But he's so freaking thick.
Yeah, he's white.
Like he's like wide boy, hashtag thick boy to the extreme.
Biggest muscle shoulders, biggest
That is
biceps,
the biggest little dude I've ever seen. Because like I said before, he's my height.
Yeah.
To paint a picture, he would
That's
be
crazy.
like the size of like this table.
Oh
man.
damn! How tall is The Rock?
The Rock is like 6'3".
6'3"?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Because
No,
they're-
he's like 6'4", 6. Yeah.
Well, it's crazy because they're standing next to each other a lot in this movie.
Yeah. I'm probably exaggerating. He's probably taller than me. I'm thinking of Tom Cruise.
Nah, Tom Cruise. He's tall. He's shorter than you, definitely.
You think Tom Cruise is shorter than me?
I know so. Yeah.
My friend and I had an argument because we were watching. I'm a big UFC guy, and we were watching UFC 227. And the UFC 227 was the bantamweight and the flyweight, and it's basically the littlest dudes in the MMA. And him and I were having an argument back and forth, and I was like, "Yeah, that guy's my height," and he's like, "No, he's not. That guy's tiny." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm tiny."
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of Tom Cruise. I mean, Josh Hutcherson's another homie who's
Josh Hutcherson is a real short dude.
yeah, he's a small dude.
Usher, man. If you meet Usher,
Mark
in real
Wahlberg
life-
is 5'8".
Mark Wahlberg's 5'8". Damn, so he is
That's
about
like
your height.
right. That's
Yeah.
basically my height,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Damn.
same
And The
with
Rock has 7 inches on him.
I guess so. Hey, man.
How tall is Anthony Mackie then?
Anthony Mackie's like 6 foot, man. 6'1", 6'2". Yeah.
I thought these motherfuckers was like 6'6" or something.
No, man. I'm telling you, man. The way Michael Bay shoots Mark Wahlberg makes him look taller in this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, damn, he's standing next to these dudes and they like damn near.
I'm telling you, man. It's the way you shoot him. Anthony Mackie's not. He's 5'10".
He's
So he's
5'10".
not that tall.
Okay, just
But
The
either
Rock
way,
has a
like you can shoot shorter dudes and make them look taller. It's
Right.
possible.
right.
It's the power
I mean, that's
of an
Tom
apple
Cruise.
box.
That's all of Tom Cruise's career.
That's
It's
all
like,
of Tom
man.
Cruise's career is apple box, man. Shout out to that clutch apple box.
Yeah, nah. But I don't know.
You like this movie?
I like this.
You don't
movie
think
a
it's
whole lot.
mean spirited?
I think it's a
Because
little
I think it's mean spirited.
No, I think it's mean spirited, but I love the fact that it's mean spirited.
To me, this is like low humor. Like it's like low, like the type of stuff you're laughing at is stuff you shouldn't be laughing at.
I think I like this movie in the same reason why I like War Dogs. It's less because of it being a true story,
Sure.
but in the fact that it's more of like a true idea. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like how throughout our entire lives as Americans, we are preached this whole idea of the American dream, right? You can make it, you could be successful, you could, do it. And this movie kind of takes that and like satirizes it all the way. I mean, and that's why I think it being so mean spirited, it just adds to the satire that this movie's trying to go at. Because
Is it a satire though? Does it paint these guys in a good light? Because it kind of does.
I don't know. I think it paints them in a shitty light too.
Okay.
But I think it gives you an idea of this is what everybody wants to do to a certain extent, right?
You don't
Like,
think the audience members are rooting for these guys?
you're supposed to be rooting for these guys, and I think that's the point. Like you're rooting for these guys because you could relate, right? You could relate to being broke. You could relate to like hating your job. You can relate to all of that. So once you start doing shady shit, you're doing it because you're just trying to get by. And I think that's why I think that this movie is a kind of commentary, a play on, hey, this is the American dream. Nobody else is doing it for me. I'm just gonna. If it's gonna take me to kidnap and murder somebody to make $1 million, then that's what I'm gonna do. And I think it kind of plays on that, it satirizes that to a whole lot. So I quite enjoy this movie on that front. And of course, the whole angle of it being a true story and not being sensitive to the actual victims, I think that's a very legitimate concern, and I think that's very true. I mean, that's something that should be taken into consideration, right?
That's my biggest gripe.
Right.
One of my biggest gripes.
Right.
With the movie.
Right. I just think the way it satirizes, like at the end when a dude, at the end when Ed Harris's character is kind of sitting on his like lavish boat houses and all these like lavish and on his deck for his whole thing, like he's like, oh, I just want to enjoy the simple things in life. that is so. That, I mean, to me, that is so contradictory. It has to be satire, right? To a certain extent, unless I guess it just depends on how you view Michael Bay. Is he too dumb to know that what he's doing is contradictory and inconsistent, or is it Or do you think Michael Bay's smart enough to consider that, to know that it's satire and plays on that?
You're asking the wrong guy, man.
I choose to think that it's satire.
I choose to think he's dumb.
But I don't know. So that's where I have an affinity for his movie. Not so much of a sense of it being this like amazingly true, gritty, true story or whatever. But I love the satire of it.
What do you think about The Rock in this movie?
I love The Rock in this movie. Yeah, he's dope. I mean, he's silly, and it breaks the convention of The Rock being like the usual tough guy. And this one, he's super silly, super dumb, super goofy, and he's kind of like the cowardly bitch of like the entire group.
And he's enormous.
Yeah.
Like this is the famous photo of the set photo that people take when they compare The Rock 2000 and The Rock 2013. In this one.
Yeah.
Like they take a picture of like The Rock, buff guy in 2000, buff guy now. Like he gained a shit ton of weight. Like I think this is his biggest, and Hercules is probably his other biggest.
Hercules?
When he got enormous for Hercules. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen Hercules.
That was also in 2013 too, right?
It might have been the same year, but I don't remember. But I just know how enormous.
I haven't seen Hercules.
Yeah, he's enormous in that movie. It's not a great movie.
Brett Ratner.
Yeah, shout out to that guy. Brett Ratner.
No shout outs to that guy.
Yeah,
I'm not shouting him out.
Yeah, definitely not shouting out Brett Ratner. It'll be another shitting on episode. This has become RB3.
Oh no!
Now,
hey, if we do Brett Ratner, we will have to talk about, at least not do a Brett Ratner episode. Let's do a Rush Hour episode, man.
Okay,
just a Rush
I'm with
Hour
you
episode.
on that. I mean, my brother is the biggest Rush Hour fan.
Ooh,
like ever.
Yeah,
he's literally still trying to make Rush Hour.
Hey, do Rush Hour 4, baby.
Like he legit, that's like his life goal, man. Like he's done some short films that are literally like spin-offs of like Rush Hour type shit. But now let's get into more positivity, because honestly, I haven't asked you what your favorite Michael Bay movie is, but we're about to talk about my favorite Michael Bay movie, and that's one that I recently watched, and that is 13 Hours.
13 Hours. Oh, that's your favorite.
It's my favorite. You know why?
Why's that?
It has the least amount of humor.
That's true.
It has the least amount of Michael Bay type jokes and Michael Bay type bottom of the barrel, low hanging fruit type shit. And it's just about these military dudes trying to defend themselves and going ham.
Right.
And it's freaking dope. I think it's cool. I really like this movie. I talked to JT about it because he told me he didn't like this movie.
Really?
Because we were talking about the other one with Chris Hemsworth that came out, 12 Strong. And I was like, oh, I saw 13 Hours. And I don't know why it reminded me of it. And he was like, oh, 12 Strong's great. And I was like, 13 Hours is really good. And he's like, no, it's not. And I was like, oh, shit. I thought you liked it. I forget it's Mark that liked it.
Mark gave it 5 out of 5 schmoes.
He gave it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
This is all about the Benghazi shitstorm that happened.
Right, that happened in 2013, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it's based on real events. And apparently the source is pretty credible when it comes to these events, because it's based on these actual guys that are basically like private military type guys who are former military, former U.S. Army guys who basically had to hold down the fort and shut out this awful ISIS attack that was going on. Right. What do you think of this movie, man? Because I know you had a lot of notes on it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, this movie, it definitely, it fits into the traditional norms, I think, of most war movies.
Sure.
The idea of the untold story of the heroism, you know, the whole band of brothers, of the comrade, the crew that all has to come together to fight this one united front. Is very much the us versus other perspective. I think even more so than, because we talked about Catherine Bigelow last week, and her portrayal of that in The Hurt Locker, right?
Sure.
Where we actually live and interact with a couple of some of these characters in Iraq. This movie takes place in Benghazi for the most part. And you never see any of the other, you never see any of the opponent's face, right? You never see anybody else in the context of this situation, right? Like that just doesn't. And I think that kind of adds a little bit of the villainization.
Sure, and I can add to that too by saying that, and I'm adding to it. I'm trying not to interrupt you so much.
Right.
How even the guys who are on their side are idiots. They're dumbasses who don't know how to handle a gun. the Middle Eastern guys that help him out. Remember?
Right.
They're like, "What are you doing, man? Like, get my back. Like, why? Come on, like, shoot straight." Remember, like the whole time they were telling him like how much they suck.
Right.
So that adds to
so
your.
it's it's a little bit of the propaganda that a lot of people talk about with these war movies.
But then again, that's what happened.
Yeah,
like a shit ton of ISIS people just decided to tear shit up. And
right.
It's like,
and absolutely, and and that's where I think I have kind of a debate in this movie. Is when I watched this movie in one of my classes for postmodernism, right, at USC, and after we watched the movie, the tradition is we talk about the movie afterwards, and it was weird because this was one of the more eye-opening experiences for me upon what young people think of the military per se, because to my surprise, I just watched it. I just thought it was like a cool war movie. I just thought it was a normal, pretty a very well done war movie. But afterwards, people were like going in on it. They were tearing a new asshole, saying, "Oh, it's the Fox News propaganda. It's they're portraying these men as superheroes and not doing anything heroic." Da da da. And I was really like taken aback by that because I don't think that's accurate at all. I think that I think that it definitely has the American perspective.
Sure.
And it definitely doesn't humanize the enemy, quote unquote enemy. And it doesn't add any humanization to that, but I don't think it's comparable to something like American Sniper or some other movies.
I like American Sniper.
No, I don't like American Sniper Race. I'm sorry. But like this is the second time, this is the second consecutive podcast where I've said I don't like American Sniper. Well, I call it American Sniper propaganda at least, but I think that one is a legitimate example of that.
Sure.
I don't think there's any problem in celebrating heroism, and especially faced with those kind of circumstances. You know? So I don't know. It was taken aback by like that whole.
I 100% agree. I really feel like there is this unnecessary hostility towards military people and military coming from the left.
Yeah.
I had a conversation about it with a friend of mine who was in town from Phoenix, and because she's from Phoenix, that already means super right, like super right, like super red, like it's red. Right. And I live in LA, which is super blue, like crazy blue, to the point that sometimes I feel like that kind of judgment comes and it doesn't really make sense because you're like, really? Because it's just they're defending off terrorists who cut off people's heads for fun.
Yeah.
Like, how is that?
How's that bad thing?
How is that something that the left wants to say? Come on, guys! It's like, no, they are evil. They are actually our enemies, and the military is, trying to support and trying to help and trying to defend, which is the whole point. It's defense, not offense. Defense. Right?
And of course, the U.S. does take a lot of offensive action.
Sure.
And I think that's where I have more of a problem with something like American Sniper or a lot of other war films, because a lot of wars that are portrayed on film, at least that take place in the modern era, are offensive wars. The war in Iraq is an offensive war. All of these wars are offensive, right? Afghanistan, offensive war. I'm heavy anti-war. You know what I mean? So I don't think we should be in any other countries, honestly, because I think we create more of the problems that we create more of the problems than we actually solve. You know what I mean? I think we make situations worse in a lot of cases.
Sure.
But that being said, I'm not gonna point the finger at the soldiers, at the people who are actually doing the fighting. Why not point the finger at the politicians who keep sending people over there, or point the finger at the crazy fear mongering that a lot of times the media is responsible for as well. So I think that I think that people who are anti-military aren't really understanding of what they do and what they're up against, and the fact that they're put into those situations by a government that don't necessarily, that I frankly think go to war for the purpose of making money. So that's my problem, So, but I think in the case of 13 Hours, and that's why I kind of took objection to it. It's private. These are private military guys. These aren't U.S. soldiers, and it's not like they're actually just helping Americans for the sake of it. They're not even carrying any kind of political agenda. And I think that's where Michael Bay is coming at this movie from too, because like I said before, there's no mention of Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State at the time. And you know, the emails kind of indicate that she knew about the whole attack and all that stuff. They don't point the finger at her. They don't point the finger at Obama. You know, there's brief mentions of politics, but it essentially is just the movie of the heroism. And I think there's nothing wrong with celebrating
100% agree with you, because these guys were heroes. 100% absolutely agree. And for me too, I really do feel like this is a fun movie to dive into. Certain actors, right? Because what's his face? John Krasinski.
Quiet Place.
Yeah. This is
where he got buff.
That's what I'm saying, right? Because this is like when John Krasinski was basically proving how he can be like a leading man and like a leading type man for like action movies. Because now he's doing the Jack Ryan series on Amazon. Yeah. And if you've seen clips of that, it's basically this. It's just him kicking ass. And this is him being enormous. He's freaking huge. Everyone in this movie is freaking huge.
Who would have thought Jim from The Office?
Right?
What he yoked up so much, yeah.
Yeah, and he's got the giant beard, and he's bossing people around, and it's like, yeah, this guy's...
He's quiet.
I'm trusting this guy.
He's stoic.
Give this man a gun. That's what I would say.
Give this man a gun.
I totally would say that. I would give this guy a gun right away.
Yeah.
But the other guy I want to give a shout out to is Pablo Schreiber. Pablo Schreiber. American Gods. Have you seen American Gods?
I have not seen American Gods.
American Gods is a crazy, insane show on Starz, based on the Neil Gaiman book. And Pablo Schreiber is amongst these super well-renowned, great actors, and he's the best part of that show.
Really?
He plays a leprechaun named Mad Sweeney.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's the whole point of playing a leprechaun. It's like the idea of a leprechaun being tiny.
Right.
And if the guy I'm talking about is the freaking huge guy, I don't know in 13 Hours if you know who I'm talking about, but who's got the enormous giant gun and he's always bossing people around.
Right.
That's him.
Oh, okay.
So basically he's known for his size, being an enormous guy.
Right.
But he's also great in this movie.
He's massive, yeah.
Yeah, he's great in this movie.
Yeah.
And he's my favorite part of American Gods. So shout out to Pablo Schreiber, because I really wanted to. I'm saying his name wrong. Pablo Schreiber, because I really do feel like he stands out in this movie, in a movie that's basically just big dudes shooting guns.
Right.
I feel like he stands out even amongst, everyone else who looks similar to him.
Right. No, he's great in this, and I think the last movie portrays the condition of being over there too, right? Like how you have to have a certain amount of discipline and how you're gonna be without your family. I know for this movie, I think this movie actually has like an all male cast. I don't even know if there's like any females in this movie.
The only female is that one of that politicians.
Yeah, exactly.
That he's defending.
Yeah. And but a lot of the talk is about the life at home, right? What are we gonna do when we get out of this situation? What do we do when we get back? All that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
It's just fascinating that this movie comes from an all male perspective, so there's less of the feminist problematic.
Are you? Come on, right? Think about it. This is why it's my favorite Michael Bay movie, man. Because it doesn't have. It just focuses on one story, telling that story. That's it. Yeah. No stupid jokes. No bottom of the barrel type humor like in Pain and Gain. No, it's just straight up just these guys doing what they do, man. Kicking ass.
Yeah.
And defending people that need to be defended.
Right.
Because that's the job.
Right.
So yeah, all credit to those guys in real life, because they're obviously real.
Yeah.
And credit to Michael Bay for making a movie that's actually good and watchable.
No, absolutely.
And making another long movie, because this movie's long as hell too.
That movie's crazy long.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. That finishes our conversation on Michael Bay. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you did, it was probably from Josh Macuga.
Yeah.
And not from us. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, guys, let us know in the comments down below. What is your favorite Michael Bay movie? What is your thoughts on Michael Bay? What do you feel like he has to say throughout his movies? Because you guys might have different opinions than we do. You guys might have similar opinions. Whatever it is, let us know in the comments down below on YouTube. For anyone who's not listening on YouTube, come on over to YouTube.
Come on over to
and
YouTube.
leave us a comment so we can read it on the show. and we can give you a shout out and say your name and mispronounce your name probably.
Probably. Also, please, people, at the top of the link of this description is a link to my road project from the road Reel competition.
Yeah, get it.
So please click on that link. Give me a quick vote. The project itself is called Artists of Venice. I did it with my buddy Kate Hughesby from my fraternity, and we interviewed a couple of people on the Venice Boardwalk and kind of talked about what inspired them to be artists and stuff. So yeah, all of that. Just click on the link very top of the description, and please give me a vote. Help us get some votes. Help me win $1 million.
Hey man, I already did it. I did it,
man. Oh, Ace.
I voted.
The GOAT.
I needed to vote.
Ace the GOAT. Thank you, man.
Yeah, go do that. Go follow Josh Macuga.
Yeah.
Go give him a shout out.
Josh Macuga. Hashtag. Please, everybody, please get this dude on Jeopardy. Let's really
make
get
it
this
happen,
dude on
man.
Jeopardy,
Make it happen. Make
That's
it
crazy. Hashtag Josh Macuga for Jeopardy.
The voice of the people, man. All right, guys. For the Meaning of Podcast, I'm Ace.
This is RB3.
And we are peacing out. Peace out, guys.